education and training students. It's heartening to see that college is taking steps to incorporate digital competencies into the curriculum. This will go along in preparing students for the digital world and equipping them with necessary skills to succeed in their lives. Now I call upon the guests of honor, Mr. Vikas and Mr. Rangarajan, Mr. Shivam, Simi, and Lekha, and Mr. Sudeep and Mr. Anand. Along with that, my management, Mr. Ritesh Goyal, MD, Kavita Matar ma'am, and Mohan Raj sir, to light the lamp and grace this occasion. Thank you, dignitaries. Now I call upon my Dean Placements, Mr. Mohan Raj, to welcome the gathering and introduce the theme. Mr. Mohan Raj is a postgraduate in Business Administration, and his core passion has always been education and has garnered more than 2 decades of his experience in this field. He believes that fitting the perfect training for passionate learners is key to giving them an edge in the marketplace. He has been exposed to various responsibilities throughout his line of work, from executive strategy, talent management, sales and marketing, to operations, planning and execution. That has allowed him to generate cross-disciplinary insights and enhance cross-departmental performance. He has worked with leading education institutions in various leadership positions, and his last assignment prior to joining GIBS was with SP Jain Global, a premier business school having international operations. He is currently holding the position of Dean Placements and Corporate Relations at GIBS School. Sir, I welcome you on the stage to address the gathering. No.
Thank you, Kiran. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and esteemed speakers. I extend a warm welcome to each and every one of you here at GIBS HR Conclave. Our gathering today is graced by the presence of our founder and MD, Mr. Ritesh Goyal, Dean and Chief Growth Officer, Dr. Kavita Matar, Chief Process Officer, Mr. Bharat Gopalan, Director of Administration, Mr. Ravi Agarwal, Director of Marketing, Mr. Pradeep, Head of Admissions, Mr. Sandeep, and our dedicated academic and corporate relations team. Our distinguished keynote speakers, Mr. Vikas Maheshwari, Mr. Rangarajan Subramaniam, our esteemed panel speakers, Ms. Lekha, Ms. Simi, Ms. Sivam, Mr. Anand, and Mr. Sandeep, and the august audience. The next 150 minutes, we promise it to be thought-provoking, as our expert speakers will delve into the theme of digital competencies and how to retain talent. In today's ever-changing business world, The significance of digital competencies cannot be emphasized enough. It's not merely about keeping up with the latest trends, it's about thriving and maintaining a competitive edge. We won't keep you waiting any longer, as we know you're all eager for the insights and knowledge our experts are about to share. Without further ado, let's embark on this illuminative journey. I encourage you all to immerse yourself in the discussion and enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you for being part of this enlightening event. So,
thank you, sir. Now I call Mr. Ritesh Goyal, Managing Director and Founder of GIBS Business School. It is an absolute privilege to welcome the extraordinary Mr. Ritesh Goyal, Founder and Managing Director of GIBS, to the stage. He symbolizes the spirit of a winner, dreamer, and visionary. Mr. Goyal's journey from a Hindi medium background to IIM Bangalore is a shining example of his unwavering self-confidence, passion, and determination. He wears many hats: Chairman and Managing Director at the Goyal Group, serial entrepreneur, motivational speaker, philanthropist, personal branding business coach, consultant, and inspiring business leader. Recognitions such as the Business Icon Award 2022 by The Outlook, ASMA Academic Excellence Award, and being honored as India's top 40 under 40 in education underscore are his remarkable contributions. His 9 ventures, including GIBS Business School, have set benchmarks for success and contributed significantly to education. As a motivational speaker, business coach, and author, Mr. Goyal's words resonates with audiences worldwide, motivating countless individuals. Now please join me in welcoming Mr. Ritesh Goyal to the stage for his welcome speech.
Thank you, Kiran sir, and thank you, MR, Mr. Mohan Raj, who is the Dean Placements, for organizing such an amazing event. And I'm thrilled to see so many HRs. I'm sure any business school will have this dream to have a number of HRs in the institution, right? So I would say the dream come true today. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I very warm and gracious welcome to the HR Conclave at GIBS Business School. It is with great pleasure and excitement that I stand before you today as the Master of Dreams, MD of GIBS. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to all of you for gracing this event with your presence. Your participation is a testament to your commitment to advancing the field of human resources and your dedication to staying abreast of the latest industry trends and best practices. Our theme for today's conclave, digital competencies for employees, is not just timely but also of paramount importance in today's rapidly evolving business landscape. It is an area that holds the key to unlocking the full potential of our organizations and ensuring their long-term success. Before we proceed, I would like to express my deep appreciation to our keynote speakers, Mr. Vikas Maheshwari, CHRO of Biocon Biochemicals, and Mr. Rangarajan, Head of People at SMEC. Their valuable insights and experiences are sure to set the tone of our discussions today. I also would like to extend a warm welcome to our esteemed panelists, Mr. Anand Arora, Ms. Lekha, Ms. Simi Chaudhary, Mr. Sudeep Kumar Sen, and Mr. Shivam S. Your willingness to share your expertise and experience with us today is greatly appreciated, and we eagerly anticipate the enriching discussions that will follow. I am deeply honored to stand before this gathering of HR professionals from the top companies, and I extend my sincere gratitude to each one of you for taking the time to be here today in spite of your busy schedules. As we gather here, it is evident that the digital transformation of organizations is no longer a choice, it is a necessity. The advent of technology that has reshaped the way businesses operate, communicate, and compete on a global scale. In this ever-evolving landscape, the role of HR professionals becomes increasingly pivotal in ensuring that our workforce is not only digitally competent but also agile and adaptable. So this was from the piece of paper which was given to me, and I would like to talk about GIBS now, a little bit about GIBS. I would like to take a moment of highlight few exceptional models for our PGDM and BBA students, instrumental in shaping the education landscape here at GIBS. I would say it is not a normal business school, it is a unique business school where we do a number of unique practices. As I have shared with our panelists and the keynote speakers, this is about 7th or 8th event in last 1.5 months, in last 5 days. And thanks to our student community, they had classes till 5 o'clock today, and they are here as a volunteers for the event. So you can imagine the dedication of our students, and they are always on the toss. And I'm sure every student is getting an opportunity to conduct at least 8 to 10 events in a year. And last year we conducted about 52 events. So I will be talking about few models. So recently we have introduced something called LBD model. It was actually introduced long back, but we realized that it is called LBD. So since inception, we were talking about learning by doing. I see a number of the business coaches who teach businesses. But trust me, business cannot be taught. Business is something what you have to do, and it's learning by doing only is possible. So, and in fact, I have learned after my education, and it took almost, I would say, 10 years, even after starting a business, to learn business. So I am sure our students are getting a lot of things through our IRE school. We have something called IRE, which is, I think, is a new sensation in education industry. So IR means anger. So it was the result of an anger during the COVID time. So we came out with something called IRE, Innovation, Research and Entrepreneurship, where each and every student of GIBS is coming up with an idea, and then idea to prototype. And it is a 9 months of journey, which is almost equals to an executive MBA program, and which has been inculcated in the regular PGDM program. And along with that, we have something called GIBS Finishing School. Every Saturday is dedicated for that. And in fact, I see that most of the schools and colleges becomes a dark house after 12:30 or 1 o'clock on the Saturdays, and no more working. But here, our students are with us almost till 6:30 every Saturday. And almost 500 hours of program we are delivering called CPMP, Certificate for Personal Mastery Program. And our students are groomed very well, and before they go for the corporate interviews, they are going through n number of interviews. In fact, I believe 20 plus interviews. They are facing live with the corporates, with the corporate professionals, with the VPs, with the top HR professionals. They are facing the interviews on every Saturdays. So that I always believe that as we all speak that Gen Z is not so serious, they are not, but I believe that they are the smartest bunch. They are the best at whatever they do. So this is something, and we are just, I feel that, okay, we are just polishing the shoe. हम जूते को जोड़ नहीं रहे हैं यहाँ पे. We are just polishing, and that is something what our CPMP team is doing. And we have something amazing called CIC model. And it took almost 10 years for me to realize. In fact, I asked my students that who are our customers. Everybody has answered students. In fact, I asked to the faculty members in many institutions that who are your customers. Everybody has answered it's the students. And then during our board meeting last year, we were discussing that can we really squeeze our students? Can we, because as we say that customer is God. So can we slap our God? Can we give a difficult time to our God? We cannot. So this is where we came to the conclusion that CIC, corporate is customer. So corporate is customer model, which we have launched last year. And I'm sure now our students are having the most difficult time in GIBS because they are no more the customers, they are the product of GIBS. And end product, we have to sell it to the corporates. And faculty members of GIBS are the machinery. So this is how the production happens in a factory, right? And end of the day, we are producing the best product for the corporate world. And this is all about GIBS, and few of our students in the initial batches, for the public, it is Global Institute of Business Studies, but few of our students has named it as Golden Institute of Business Studies. We are in the race of becoming as a Golden Institute. And हिंदी में थोड़ा सा बोलना चाहूँगा कि जब हम कोई बैंक को लूटते हैं, जब हम किसी भी बैंक को लूटते हैं, तो उसके लिए हमें 3 साल बंकर बनाना पड़ता है, 3 से 4 साल, राइट? एंड वन फाइन डे व्हाट डू वी डू? बैंक वालों को पता चलता है बैंक लूट गया, एंड आई थिंक वो बंकर हम बना रहे हैं पिछले 3 साल से, एंड अगले 2 साल में इंडस्ट्री को पता चल जाएगा कि बहुत बड़ा इंस्टीट्यूट यहाँ पे आया है. थैंक यू सो मच. वंस अगेन आई वेलकम यू ऑल. थैंक यू गाइस.
Thank you, sir. Now I call the Dean of Academics and Chief Growth Officer, Dr. Kavita Matad, on the stage to address the gathering. It's an honor to introduce Dr. Kavita Matad. She's a distinguished academic leader with a gold medal from Karnataka University and credentials from Harvard Business School online. Dr. Matad's expertise is shaping higher education institutes and fostering innovation, speaks volume about her visionary leadership. Ma'am, the mic is yours.
Thank you, Kiran. Good evening, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet our event of GIBS. It's a pleasure, it's a pride as well. Very recently, we hosted TEDx here on the same stage, yes. And this is yet one more dream come true kind of event. This is the second mega event. And of course, we have our academic events happening, like our international conference, FDPs and all these events happening. So, yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, at GIBS we have 2 programs. One is BBA and the PGDM program. BBA is affiliated to the Bangalore University, while PGDM is approved by the AICTE. So here I would like to say, sir has already spoken about few of our USPs, and that is the IRE program and the CPMP program, wherein most of our students, if you ask them why was their GIBS their choice, then they would tell that this is because of the IRE program and the CPMP program, wherein we focus upon the fine-tuning, the behavior aspects of the students. And the pure academics, as far as the syllabus is concerned, the curriculum is concerned, we focus on the content, while the CPMP focuses on the fine-tuning and the behavioral aspects of the students. So we try to kind of, at the end of the year, we try to come up with that finished product, which is like, quite impressive, and wherein the industry is, willingly picking up them. Few of those, we really had some good achievements as far as our placements are concerned. So BBA, we had few of our students, really kind of cracking good interviews. And I think in the line of the discussion, you will be getting to know, that those are really kind of an attractive packages wherein our BBA students have
put your phone on silent. We're just moving the podium, that's all. Here. Laptop. Thank you, ma'am. There is no alternative to digital transformation. Visionary companies will carve out new strategic options for themselves. Those that don't adapt will fail. Jeff Bezos, Amazon founder, said this. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed attendees and the management, it is with immense pleasure and honor that I stand before you today to welcome you to the HR Conclave event organized by GIBS Business School. This event represents a coming together of academia and industry, a fusion of knowledge and practice, and an opportunity for us to explore the captivating realm of digital competencies for employees. As professionals, it is our responsibility to ensure that our employees possess the right digital competencies to enhance their productivity and efficiency. We need to focus on developing a culture of continuous learning and upskilling within our organizations. This will not only benefit our employees, but also help our organization stay ahead of the curve. In today's ever-evolving world, the role of human resources is not just limited to traditional HR practices. It has transcended its boundaries to adapt to the digital age. And this conclave is a testament to that transformation. Our objective today is to explore the dynamic landscape of digital competencies that are indispensable for employees in this digital era. This event promises to be thought-provoking and enriching experience with a lineup of distinguished speakers who are experts in their respective domains. They will share insights, best practices, and innovative strategies related to digital competencies and retention of talent, shedding light on the skills and knowledge that modern employees must possess to thrive in the digitally driven workplace. I request MD Sir to hand over flowers to Mr. Vikas and Mr. Rangarajan, our two keynote speakers. This one. Can I have a round of applause? Thank you, sir. I call on the stage now my first keynote speaker for the evening, Mr. Vikas Maheshwari, CHRO of Biocon Biologics Limited. Mr. Vikas has 25 years of experience in human capital management, worked with well-known brands of companies like NIT, EAB.com, Landmark Group, Alphathame, and now Biocon. He is a versatile, results-driven leader with a solid business acumen focused on developing a high-performance workforce. He led, developed, and managed complex organizational change programs. Passionate about connecting HR to the business goals, he has played the role of an entrepreneur for all his employers. He was entrusted with the task of setting up a complete HR function from scratch, capable of catering to the organizational needs of diverse talent. He carries a proactive attitude, capable of thinking in and out of the box, generating innovative solutions and creative ideas. His specialties include talent strategy, planning, talent acquisition, performance management, goal setting, multi-rater assessments, competency mapping, succession planning, leadership development, HR systems, metrics, employee engagement, and employee branding. Dear sir, I request you to take over the stage.
Thank you, Kiran. That was an essay you read there. Okay, I'm not the CHRO, I'm just an HR guy. But my dear friend Naveen Narayanan, if he was to see this, who's the actual CHRO, he would not have a good night. Right, Dr. Goel, thank you so much for having us here. Dr. Kiran, that was an amazing insight into the stuff that you all are doing. But most importantly, I want to thank these future leaders who are sitting here, who you said have actually organized this whole event single-handedly. None of you were involved, so it's absolutely a stupendous show. I know normally these vote of thanks happen at the end, but I couldn't resist. I just said I should do what I need to do. But here's the thing: I didn't really know what to talk about, because when I read the subject, it said that I have to talk about competencies for preparing for the future of work. And then I said, a lot of this is not available on Google any which ways, And then if you're not happy with Google, now you have large language models like ChatGPT and Bard and stuff like that. So you can go there and Google this stuff out. So typically when I go to these events, right, my endeavor is very simple. Don't want to talk about stuff that you would have heard somewhere or have read somewhere. Let's talk about stuff that you possibly will not find on Google. It's a very difficult thing, by the way. Because all of us HR, we get a lot of our insights either from our experiences, and then we refer a lot to Google, which we said, oh, this is our research. Okay. So what you're going to see here, other than this slide, is mostly stuff that all of us have experienced. And one thing before I move forward is that I really look forward to the rest of the evening, because I want to learn from a lot of you, and especially the stuff that you were talking around diversity. You guys need to behold, because there's a lot of good stuff coming your way. Mine is possibly going to be the least impressive. The only advantage I have when I go first is that everybody actually listens because they're fresh. The disadvantage is that you are fresh and you ask very difficult questions. Okay, but I'll still give you about 5 minutes only, so don't trouble me too much. So here's the thing, I want to structure this in a way to talk about what's happening right now, overall in the corporate space, where people matters become important. And then I also want to talk about stuff like the challenges that we all face, okay? And basis that, what is the future of work, and therefore what are the competencies that we need to understand and know about. And this is going to be slightly, some people may not like it, because I'm just going to call it the way it is. All right? So I understand a lot of you are HR professionals. Please disagree with me at the end, challenge what I say, and I'll be happy even if you could just take 1 out of the 10 things that I talk about and implement that at your workspace. Very simply put, I think the way our setup right now is that there's a certain objective that we all carry, some way or the other. I think all of us as HR professionals, we are trying to reimagine HR, isn't it? We are saying, how can we do 360s differently? How can we get rid of 9 boxes? And just in case if you were curious, if I was not the CHRO, then who was I? I call myself the guy who's disrupting HR. I go into everybody's office and I ask them questions, why do you do stuff the way you do? Because this is like 40-year-old practice. And the classic example is performance management, right? And we'll talk a bit about that. The end of the year, judge and jury, somebody comes, gives a verdict. So we really need to reimagine HR. And I think we are being challenged, all of us are being challenged to say that how can we make HR in a way which is for the people, of the people, and by the people. Why do HR have to write policies? Why can't our people write their own policies? Okay, so that's what I say is pretty much our objective. We need to rethink everything. It's not just about processing payroll anymore. I guess the reason we need to rethink is because of the changing HR landscape, which I said. Now, if you look at this is pretty much what our challenges are today. And please, please disagree with me if you want to. If you look at any kind of an organization, we have a big challenge with data. I want to know data. I want to correlate data, but I do not have the true visibility. And if you go to a large-scale organization, I'm sure Sutherland also faces some bit of that problem, although you guys are a well-established IT setup. Landmark, for example, I work with Landmark. I know the challenges that we've got. We have multiple disparate systems. You have a performance system, then you have a FICO or a finance system sitting somewhere, then you have a quality management system, you have a supply chain system. All of these are different systems. Unfortunately, they're not talking to each other. If I had to, through the system, derive in, that's why ERPs and all came into existence, but they still do not do that job. So we have a challenge of data. We do not have the true data available to us. Then we have a challenge of reporting because you don't have data, so you don't know how to report. And that is why a lot of us, day in and day out, are just working on Excels. You would not believe it. I know, as I said, some of us may not like what I say. Fact is that all of these industry leaders sitting here would agree to me that even today, a lot of our people are doing VLOOKUPs and XLOOKUPs and doing stuff that ideally the system should solve. Excel is still our favorite tool. We haven't moved on. So much talk about AI, we're still on Excel, yeah? And then there's a risk exposure. So people who are looking at, multi-geography kind of a setup, compliance is a big, big, big pain. We acquired a company called Whitelist very recently. I was brought in actually for this acquisition from my previous organization. I've been struggling with compliance. I've been struggling with work council in EU, European Union. They're very finicky about how you deal with data, how you deal with employee records. We say we will do NLP. We will read employee records and we will throw some analytics. EU says you're not doing any of that sort. You cannot read an employee record. Now, if I cannot read an employee record, how am I supposed to drive intelligence? So there are many, many such challenges around. And then you have manual processes and work. I don't want to talk about it. You talk to an HRBP, they say, you call me an HR business partner, but all that I'm doing is a personal concierge to all the employees, where the employees ask me, okay, can you tell me what's my leave balance? And then you go around and you find out the leave balance. Can you tell me how many leaves am I entitled to for maternity and paternity? Are there any HRBP sitting in this room? Okay, do you all agree, disagree? Yeah, okay, I see that. Right, so we're still stuck on those manual processes. And then you have security around data. I think there is a new law which is coming in India, which is going to be quite equivalent to the GDPR, that you have in the other countries. And that's when the, stuff hits the ceiling. And then you have employee frustration at the end of the day who say, hey, HR just does Rangoli, man. And then you have all these memes and all of this coming out, yeah? This is our life, okay? And we need to handle this. We need to get smarter. We need to be not just people who are policing and copying and, doing all of that, but we need to do more. Now, what do we do? There's one more problem that a lot of us have not admitted to. And I wish there were all the students that GIBS has, because they would love this point. There's a problem of the old guard versus the new guard that we are facing. Yeah? I'll tell you what that means. Some 70 million boomers. You understand boomers? Old school boomers. Mr. Goyal is not a boomer, he's a millennial. But yeah, boomer is also state of mind, by the way. It's not necessarily an age. So, there's 70 million boomers who's going to exit. They're going to retire this decade. The supply is of 150 odd millennials and Zs, okay? Now suddenly what's happening is that in every organization there is a crisis. The guy who's got there with about 15, 20, 25 years of experience, there are people who've been in an organization for decades, they see a young, graduate from a GIBS kind of an institute, and they come and they say, well, no, this is not how it's done. I know design thinking. There's a different way to do this. And this person who's like been there forever, he says, what is the design thinking? Don't teach me. This company, I am the one who's brought it to where it is. And this poor guy who's just come out thinking, design thinking was the thing that you told me, but they're not even listening. And what happens? To your point, diversity, right? This is the generational diversity that you work on, right? And we have so many challenges around that. I call this the battle of the old guard versus the new guard. We got to acknowledge this, and we have to handle this. If we do not, we have a bigger problem coming in over 4 or 5 years. I'll admit, my organization faces this. And we are a traditional organization, 40 years making medicines. My CEO has always been in Biocon. 26 years he's been in Biocon. And if I get somebody who's like a fresh MBA grad and goes, oh, Mr. Shreyas, this is not how it is done, well, it's not going to be a good conversation. And then we have people within the organization who I call the MIBs and the MIBs, which is millennial in a boomer's body or millennial in a Z's body. I think Mr. Goyal, I can 100% say by the kapra that he wears that he's a millennial in a Z's body, right? Or a millennial in a Z's thinking. So there are those kind of issues. So you cannot definitely stereotype people with age, but there is a certain clash of thinking, due to which what is happening is that you're seeing a lot of conflicts. This next slide, I'll just kind of, stop the storytelling and everything and move to hardcore, what we need to do after this one. I think what's happening is that, we are going phygital. I mean, look at the generation, whatever age, people are comfortable using Facebook, Instagram, Threads, blah, blah, blah. And then, when you bring in an HR guy like me who says, oh, we need to have apps, and then I hear stories, and I'm sure all of us have heard, people are not ready. And then we create complicated HR systems, whether it's Workforce, Workday, SAP, Oracles, etc., etc. And then we go on training people how to use these systems. Who trained us how to use Facebook? Who trained us how to use Instagram? Yeah? No one. We just got it. So why can't HR systems be exactly like that? Okay, why can't we go more digital? But I'm not saying that you do not go or you forget your empathy. Okay, our HR, as HR, we still need to have that human connect, and that's why I call the physical and the digital, therefore the phygital. Okay, you got to get there. Then hyper customization. Nobody likes, the all size fits all nahi chalta anymore. It doesn't work. I'll give you an example. I alluded to it earlier. Assume that you're a 23, 24-year-old person who's just joined an organization, and I give you a benefit as an HR policy. You know what? Your child education is what the company will sponsor. How does that matter to you? It doesn't. What possibly matters to you, do you give me a dating allowance? Yeah, or a birthday allowance? Yeah, and the vice versa. And we know, now we've got better at this, okay? But we used to have these standard benefits, chipkao sabko. So that's hyper customization, hyper personalization that you will hear a lot about. We keep talking about it. Realism, not idealism. I'm sorry, this is a little controversial, but a lot of us have been brought saying that, values, culture, ideals. I have full respect to all of that. But you know what? Talk to the generations that work today in our offices. They say, all that is good, but be real. You say that your culture has to be here, but what is your culture here? There is an ideal state and there is a real state. People want you to be authentic, and I keep saying this again and again and again. Somebody would have heard culture eats breakfast for strategy, etc. A nice quote. I keep saying, no, authenticity. Authenticity eats everything else. You have to be authentic. Not perfect, authentic. All right? And then there is an impatience. Okay, I don't know if you have any learning and development people here. Guys, gone are those days when, you could dump people. I'm not saying academia, okay? You still need to go through that. But, gone are those days where you could put people into a room for hours and hours or days and train them on things. It doesn't happen. Everybody's got ADHD, whether you believe it or not, thanks to Insta. Insta's also got 30-second reels now, right? So it's all about, and this is the way it is. Good, bad, ugly, I don't know. I'm no one to judge, but this is the reality. I have done tests, and I'm sure all of you all also have, where you've got people in the room, 3 days ka program, great feedback, 1 week everybody, yeah, this was the best thing ever. 2 weeks later, I've forgotten everything. Yeah? So there is impatience. You got to handle that. And then, and this is basically what COVID taught us, productivity over presentism. Nobody gets it. A lot of people like me who've been doing this corporate slavery for many years, we still go early because I need to get early, punch in, punch out. My boss is not gone, how can I go? Right? A lot of this has changed. No, some organizations, not every, okay, but it exists, okay, it exists, let's face it. So productivity is more important than presentism. It's difficult to digest, especially for people like me, all right? Now, in that kind of a changing landscape, a lot of things have happened. I am cognizant of the time that I have, but I'll give you two use cases. What you see as a slide there are all the tactical changes that we need to carry out in HR. And I don't have like hours and hours to cover this, but I'm just going to talk about two, okay? And this should wake all of us up and should give you an insight into what kind of skills that you need now. So let's talk about performance management. Our favorite subject is HR, right? What do we do? At the end of the year, there is a judge. Who's the judge? Boss. And there's a jury, the HRBP and all the other performance management heads and all that. And what do? Mr. Vikas, good, bad, ugly. Rating, that's what we do. Is that fair, really? What was performance management all about? It was about managing performance, not judging performance. When did it become judging? Okay. So then 10 years back, some people got very smart, people like me, and they said, listen, this doesn't work, judge and jury. Annual doesn't work once in a year. You go continuous. So instead of being a judge and jury once in a year, now we are judge and jury every few quarters or every few months, or in some cases every day. But we're still not solving the problem. We're still judging. How do I make this reactive event to a proactive event? And that's where things like enterprise performance management helps. And this is complicated. It's not as simple. But I'll just give you a use case. I have a very interesting use case for Landmark, but I'll leave it for you. But in all the organizations that I was working with, this is what we did. There were salespeople, right? There are salespeople everywhere, all commercial organizations. This salesperson in the morning, every day at 8:30, would get a nudge. Okay, nudge, you understand nudge? Notification bolo. But we had a chatbot, so a nudge. We would say, hey Vikas, your daily run rate for today is 100 dirhams or 100 rupees, okay? But you'll not be able to do it. You're only going to be able to achieve 80 rupees. Why? Because that's the predictive modeling that is happening, predictive analytics that is happening. Only 80 rupees. This 20 rupees, you can cover up by talking to Mr. Goyal, who's got 7 leads in his funnel, and if he's able to pass them on to you and you're able to convert them, you are protecting your KPI for the day. Who's saying this? Not the manager, not the HR, it's the system that is saying this. Okay, not exactly the way I said it, but in a better way. Now what's happening? Now, we are basically managing that individual's performance for the day, which was supposed to be our job, right? And if this happens, the KPI is product protected. What is the end result for the organization? Your organization's objectives are met. The system throws out the rating, the human does not. I know some of you must be thinking, what about soft skills, softer factors? We come there. Ask me that question at the end. But this is how you drive enterprise performance management. What do you have to do? You got to have data lakes, you need to have the right technology, you need to have the right KPIs. We don't have the right KPIs in our organizations, right or wrong? I've read KPIs, okay, the last 25 years I've been reading these. Some people have KPIs saying, I will move the performance, the needle on my performance this year. That's my KPI. Okay, then move the needle to where and by how much and on what? No answers. These are intent statements. Some KPIs are project plans. They are not smart KPIs, okay? So enterprise performance management solves for this. We don't have enough time, but I'm just giving you a snippet. You won't find this on Google. If you go to Google, you find a very different version of EPMO, which is led by finance, which is all about analytics. But the minute you do predictive and prescriptive analytics, that's where, and you leave HR to manage this for the whole organization, that's where EPMO comes in. The other interesting use case that a lot of people have now started warming up to in India as well is skills center of excellence. I'm sure everybody's heard. Skill-based organization. So, you know, I'll tell you what is the impact of looking at skills. Not the skills that HR writes, like competencies and all of that. Big fan of competencies, but I don't believe in them. All right? Competency is equal to knowledge, attitude, skill, habits, cash, remember? So I'm talking about that S in between, skills. You have technology today which goes and scrapes the internet and says Mr. HRBP, for you, Pfizer kind of a company and Amazon kind of a company, these are the skills that you are chasing. So you have technology which tells you that. Now if you start assessing your people on those skills, you start measuring those skills, what is the end result? One use case I'll leave you with. Again, back to performance management. At the end of performance management, what are the two things that we do? Increments and promotions, right? When promotion conversations are happening, what happens? Real time. Manager sits, the HR sits, and they decide promote karne ka hai ki nahi karne ka hai. What is the data that management and the HR has? Tenure. Number of years. Usko, a fancy term mein, role maturity is also what we call it. And then you have rating, right? Good, bad, ugly. And then you have what? You have some 9 boxes and 360s and all of that. And most importantly, you have intuition and gut. And then favoritism and the plethora of biases, okay? But what is that one data that you really need and you don't have? That one data is that the role that I need to promote this person into, does this person have the skills for those roles? That data you don't have. So you take calculated risks and estimation. Skill Center of Excellence solves for that. Complicated because there's a lot of technology at play here. This is not about inward but external. All of this can happen through systems. There are many technologies, 8fold.ai, Beamery, Gloat, Spot Mentor. They all do this. India is still waking up to it. It's been about 11, 12 months that I've seen Spot Mentor picking up some traction here. But a lot of organizations have not started doing this properly, okay? It's a difficult one because people don't get it. It's change management at the heart of it. So if these were the kind of journeys that you were talking about, then on Google we keep reading things like AI, LLMs, and I keep saying that HR is going to get disrupted big time in the next 2 to 3 years. There's a tsunami coming with the whole LLM experience. You know, large language models, the chat GPTs, etc. If somebody was to really think about it, you really don't need an HR to do job descriptions anymore, right? That goes away. And there's much more that you can do. I don't want to talk about it, it might scare you, but the fact is, if this is all that we had to do to prepare ourselves for the future, then what is that we need in terms of skills and all of that? So I said before I get to skills, because again, that's something you can Google, let me tell you what is the DNA of an HR that we need to have. And I love this slide. This I learned from Mr. Savita Jagtiani, who's a part of the Jagtiani family, who's part of the ownership of Landmark Group. Savita taught me this. He said, like, when I look for people, you know, this is the kind of things that I look for, and these are the kind of people who work. I think what you read here is kind of the core of it, okay? You clearly need accountable and problem solvers. Everybody knows that. Cliched as hell. But you need people who are forward thinking, driven and competitive. In HR, you can't have people who are like a yes man to everything, and that's the problem. We have become order takers. Talk about the talent acquisition function. All that we do is we go, somebody says this is the JD, this is the level, and we go out, chasing. Do we not question them and say, why can't we look at internal mobility before we look at external hiring, right? So we got to be competitive thinking. We need to be argumentative in a certain sense. We need to be able to partner with the business. For that, we need to understand business. And everyone here would agree with me that HR has to understand business. And it is not something that you will know. I mean, for me, this is like the 5th or 6th different industry that I'm working with. First time in pharma. For the last 1.5 years, I'm just trying to upskill myself on understanding pharma. I don't come from a pharma background. I come from a retail or an IT and e-commerce and stuff like that. But this is important for me. If I don't get it, I won't survive. We have to be open to new techniques. AI is not alien. If I was to say Python is an important skills for you, you should not be thinking, what? I'm HR. No, you should be like, okay, let me find out more. If I say that there are tools and environments available that you need to code on without knowing coding, like zero code and low code, it should increase your curiosity, not create a defense mechanism saying, no, this is not right. Okay? So you should be open that way. You should love doing things for the first time without much guidance. Doesn't happen. And I can tell you from my experience, and I don't know if you agree or not, I love people who work with me who say, Vikas, we'll just get it done. And then there are people who work with me who say at every step of the task, they need a validation, they need an instruction. I would prefer the first one, isn't it? Somebody who's a go-getter. And then you have to be able to, get excited about tech and product and everything. And I just put one little one there, poor dressers at work like me, who don't know how to suit, boot, and wear ties and stuff like that. So if you look at the competencies, very simple, and I'm just going to shut up after that and you can ask me questions. On the left-hand side is what you need to know. That's your base, core HR. If you do not understand succession planning, if you do not understand all of that stuff that's there, I don't even get into HR. I'm not saying you need to understand everything in detail. The T-skills principle, you have depth and then you have range. So that's how you need to adopt. Choose your core, if it's TA or whatever. But I very strongly feel that more and more going forward, generalists are going to be, big in demand. Somebody who could do the length and breadth of HR and then specialize into something in a certain sense. And the right side, you see digital skills. And I keep saying, HR now is equal to tech is equal to marketing. You are not HR anymore. If you do not understand tech, it's not going to work. If you do not understand marketing, it's not going to work. You might be wondering, why marketing? Tech to samajh mein aata hai because digital, everybody keeps talking about it. Why marketing? Because we don't do a good job of it. We make something, we make a product, we make a policy, but we don't promote it within the organization appropriately. We push it down people's throat. And I keep saying, and a lot of people would here, Ajay would agree with me, product thinking is important in HR. What is product thinking? Like you spoke about, right? You make a product. How do you make a product? Because you think of a customer's needs and all of that, right? And then you make a product. What is the next thing you do? You promote a product. What is the third thing you do? You keep reiterating the product, making it better and better and better. You'd never stop that journey, right? Look at us what we do. We write in policy, which is supposedly our product, and then we forget all about it. For next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Job architecture, classic example, right? UJRs banaye kabhi 10 saal pehle, now we've forgotten all about it. A lot of organizations have that problem. So you cannot have that problem. Therefore, you have to think like a marketeer, okay? You have to communicate and over-communicate. And I keep saying the message will not go till the time you're tired of talking. The day you get tired of talking the same thing, that's the first day that your customers actually heard you, all right? So those are the skills that you need. This is Google. Okay, this is not me. This is Google, all right? So I'll leave it at that. And if you have any questions, because my time is up, if you have any questions, please go ahead and shoot. I love questions. Yes, please. I can hear her though. I mean, if she talks, I can. Yeah, please go ahead.
I just have two questions. One is, as you said, that we have to move more towards digital concepts, right? Everywhere, like HR is being like tagged as like we are not generating business compared to tech field, right? So how much ever like we try through digital marketing to promote our HR concepts products, till when it comes to performance appraisal, HR is like least paid compared to any technical folks. So how can we actually like pitch in generating more revenue just like the techie folks and then create our own space there?
You're saying that how can HR drive value for the organization?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I think
Because what I generally have noticed is like HRs are like not really paid high as the technical folks.
How do HR generates value for HR? Like,
Yes.
how do I earn more money?
How can we generate revenue for the
Straight
organization?
question, simple. Listen, I was in that, this is a personal story, okay? 2009, 10, 11, I left NIIT, moved into an e-commerce startup, got a good HR opportunity, but I was still static. Then I got a fancy opportunity in Dubai, moved there, and I realized everything I knew was not relevant. So I tried upskilling myself. Okay, then I met some people. Josh Burson is my god, I follow him a lot. I started upskilling. Upskilling doesn't mean just necessarily doing an e-learning or, AIHR kind of program. It also means networking, coming to events like this, and then picking up something. And I picked up a thing, I called it HR transformation because that was a big thing in 2011-12. And I said, okay, this is going to be my niche. And I started learning coding. I started learning Python. That time Python was a very miniature version of Python, right? So I started doing, and suddenly I was going with some predictive modeling in HR analytics to my boss. Okay, Savita, I was like, whoa, what is this? Yeah, I mean, we can do this. That you can draw for the group, then, our people issues are handled. So what did happen? Personal value gone up, the value for the organization shown, all because of what? A little bit of upskilling. Okay, so, I mean, I've just learned this with experience that learning is a never-ending journey. Okay, you got to keep upskilling. You will see your value. Just like I said, how do you promote and market that learning? If you're just going to learn something and go to your boss, I've got this certificate, nothing's going to happen. But you apply that learning to a real business problem, go with a POC or a solution and show this is what it is, maybe something will happen. Pick up some of this, pick up EPMO and go to your boss and say, this is what we're going to do. Maybe something will happen, and then your value, which is basically salaries, they go up. Does that answer your question?
Not really.
Not really, okay. Yeah. You want more money, okay.
Yeah. No, it's not like I want more money, because when it comes to like the company, especially like when we work with the technical directors, the one thing what they say is like the technical folks are like billable resources. And when it comes to operations, like we are all like non-billable resources. And the revenue generation is like quite nil, even though we do pre-sales or digital marketing whatsoever.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. You are NVAs, non-value added assets, if you're not doing intelligent journeys like these. If you do an L&D program and you don't show the ROI on that L&D program, and ROIs is not to say that, oh, this many number of planned training days. So this is what I've done. I've mapped KPIs, okay, smart KPIs that we've spent a year just designing those KPIs, to skills, and those skills to learning. So every time a KPI level goes down, okay, there is a event that happens. Just say that this particular KPI has these 2 skills needed, all right? And it throws those 2 skills learning to this person. In some cases, e-learning, in some cases, a manager check-in. And once that is completed, ideally the KPI should go up. If it is not done, then there is a second consequence to say, speak to your manager, check-in. Third consequence, move, repurpose. Now what is going on here? There's no human bias. It's all getting done through the system.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds simple. It's not as simple as this, because KPI and skills are they do not have a direct correlation, but they have an indirect one. But that is the kind of journey that you need to, because then you are adding value.
Exactly.
But if you're just doing, performance management at the end of the year to draw bell curves, they're basically solving finances problem, not people problem. All right? Yeah. So that's this whole thing that you saw, Ghumra, that's the thing that we need to do.
Thanks, Vikas. My second question is basically like, I'm not going to take much time, but my second question is like, we started right from 360, 180 whatsoever till normalization, bell curve, and then like we arrived now with AI, ML, like with lot more, right? So still people say like when we implement AI, ML, like the human touch is like missing.
Yeah.
So it's more into data, and like the human touch is like really missing, especially in the larger companies.
100%.
So I just wanted to know, like from all HR folks, is there any plugins which we can, inbuilt in AI ML, where we can actually like have the data visible to the whole management, which we can actually map and then see?
It's not a straight question, straight answer, because different tools, different plugins, different AI engines, but don't go AI.
You have experienced.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Any tools?
Yeah.
data through AI. What of some natural disaster, somebody, and it would affect the market across the globe. So you would be having the idea of the insight that okay, the AI is showing this much percentage of, but outside market is something completely different. So we know how the market will perform. So that's where we can provide insights and that's where we can work. So how much our AI comes, the manual intervention or the human insights would be always required, and it always helps. So yeah.
Microsoft in 2017 launched this product called 𝐃𝐢𝐿, Thinking About You. It was an AI chatbot. In 24 hours, they had to shut it down. Why? Because the ML taught the model racial abuses, okay, and swear words. So the tool just read it. This is called unsupervised AI, which he's talking about. You need supervised AI. So everything in AI is also got a human touch. AI doesn't solve for the human problems. Okay, AI is an enabler, but AI is a very well abused word. My answer to the question is you don't need AI plugins, you need plugins. Okay, simple plugins. You need some analytic plugins. You can solve for it. You can ask me. Any other question? Otherwise,
Thank you, Vikas.
You're welcome.
And thank you.
There's just one person who had questions, right? Thank you. Oh, okay, please.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So you have mentioned, we need to promote the policy rather than, keeping them on the policy, like employees. See, usually employees are aware of the policies when they are in the organization, but also they won't put forward or they won't follow the policy. So it is the, you cannot say duty, but it is how the management usually follows. Like they will impress that you need to follow the policy. So employees may feel discomfort of following the policy. Can you give me the insight? How can we promote those policies?
Why does a person not feel good about the policy? Is there something wrong with the policy?
I can give you an example. There is a leave policy, which usually HRs usually face this. Although it was mentioned in the leave policy, like you're not approved any leaves for certain training period. Also, they coming up with excuses which are not relevant, but we come up giving the approving the leaves. But how? For being a fresher, we cannot impose on them that you need to follow them. But the idea is to promote, which you said. I actually like the idea to promote. But can you give me the insights? How can we do that?
Yeah, I mean, see, I don't know how to solve your problem. I need more info, but I'll tell you a couple of things that work is that design your leave policy in a way which is conducive and let the employee own it. If the employee loses working hours, like ours is a manufacturing setup, it's easy in manufacturing. Even in billable kind of setups is easy. You don't do it, you don't get it. Money, right? But then there are genuine reasons why people need policies, and at times you just are limited with your governance structure. So we started this year leave transfers and policy leave donations and things like that. So if one of my friends needs some leaves, his quota is over, I can give him 5 leaves from my kitty, take it, because not all leaves are encashable. We always lose some leaves at the end of the year. My CEO in the previous organization, the previous to previous organization, had a different view. He said, yeah, listen, if people are really finding a sense of purpose working where they are and they are gratified and they're fulfilled, then these leave policy issues become very, but if there is a genuine concern, it's not just the HR who has to decide. Let the person take leaves. No, I'm saying let them take more than the quota also. Just hear me out. Okay, what will go wrong? You think the system will get abused? Maybe, some people, but repeated abuses you will be able to find. Read this Ken Blanchard book on customer success. He talks about Yum Foods. They said, we don't have a leave, our leave policy is we don't have a leave policy. Other than compliance, whatever leaves you need, you take. And they realize the Pareto, 20% people will abuse, you'll be able to identify them, repeated abusers, you'll be able to identify them, counsel them, move them away. But why make the other 80 suffer who actually genuinely, they are defined by the sense of purpose. But as I said, your question looks more complicated. We can take it up right now. Need to ask more, please. You want to answer that? Please. Okay.
And the way you position that is, we trust you. That's your marketing gimmick, right? We trust every... We trust every employee in the organization, so you will take leave only when it is required. So when you put this trust angle in there, right, it's more calming for you saying my management trusts me. No, so, right, correct. Correct.
Yeah.
This was just one example which we did. There are a lot of organizations who are actually stopping to use the word imposing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that word is so harming.
Even policy.
Leave policy.
Yeah, they stopped using policy.
Yeah.
Okay, small little books, playbooks. We say playbooks now. Yeah. Acha, I'm done. I'm sure everybody wants to talk. Okay, guys, it was a pleasure interacting with you. If you have more questions, please let me know. Thank you.
I'm sure you can connect to it.
Thank you, Mr. Vikas. It was enlightening and insightful to the digital world, empowering HR with digital competence. I call Ritesh sir and Kavita ma'am to honor the guest with a token of appreciation. Can I have a round of applause? Thank you, sir. Now moving to the next stage, my second keynote speaker, Mr. Rangarajan Subramanian, Head of People at SMEC, an astute HR leader with 20 years of strong experience from companies like PwC, KPMG, EY, and Genpact in talent acquisition, talent management, employee brand building, HR change management, and recruitment operations with a proven track record, has built and managed high-performing HR teams that provide value-added talent advisory to businesses and help them to be the best in the area they operate in. In his current role, he is serving as the Head of People, Performance, Culture and Diversity for SMEC India. Mr. Rangarajan also strongly believes in youth empowerment and invests his time in volunteering to coach and mentor millennials and transforming themselves to be readily employable in highly competitive labor market. He is also a family counselor and offers guidance to couples, families and groups who are dealing with issues that affect their mental health and well-being. Dear sir, I welcome you to the stage.
Thank you so much, Kiran, for a very warm welcome. Very good evening to all of you who are present here. Mr. Goel and the professors, my colleagues, beloved friends from the HR community. I hope you will all have a wonderful time this evening today. And it's a great pleasure and delight to be coming on and speaking on something which is very interesting today. Close to about a year, I've not stepped out to attend networking events like this, and it feels very refreshing for me. So before I start talking, I would want to probably answer the question number one, which came up today, in terms of HR always being looked at cost center and not a revenue center. Right? How can we solve this problem? I think people who feel HR is only a cost center and not a revenue center is a very myopic view. HR should know how to project that they are making money for the company. To take a quick example, as an HR business partner, if you're saving somebody who has resigned, if you're retaining the person, you're saving the cost of refilling the position, right? And as a talent acquisition professional, if you're bringing in talent on board by proactively pipelining candidates against your open positions, you're saving time and money. Quantify that in man hours, man months, and show it to your business leaders that this is what I've saved for you. Money saved is money earned. And this is how an HR professional can add economic value to the role that you're playing. And for that, you need to have skills which is consultative in nature, and you need to know how to create data-based evidences to counter your business leaders' misconceptions. If you're simply going and talking to people without any backup, they will continue to talk that HR is not adding value. Right? Does it answer your question? Thank you. Right. So the topic given to me is how can we improve productivity and reduce attrition. Very, very interesting topic. And in today's challenging business scenario, a lot of companies are struggling how to manage people. I think people related conversations are the primary boardroom conversations for leaders today. And they are all trying to see what are the better ways to engage talent, attract them, engage them, retain them, and try to see how they can get diverse talent back to them even after they leave the firms. So that's the level at which companies are looking at. And we are actually in a very, very volatile and uncertain environment today, where instead of recruiting people, retaining them is better. So people keep saying that retaining is the new way of recruiting. So that's what it is today. So I am going to talk about some of the clinical approaches to see how we can look at attrition, how can we look at productivity improvement in a very different lens that not too many of us in the HR might have even thought through. These are some of the business challenges today, some of the business demands every company is facing is what I want to talk about. If you look at, first thing is client-centered approach. When Mr. Goel was talking, he said his strategy now changed, and actually his client base is different. He identified that his corporate customers are the new clients for him. And similarly, all of us are trying to move client-centric to create great experiences, from client satisfaction to client delight to client ecstasy. We want to achieve anything superlative for your clients. And another challenge that is being posed for all the organizations is volatility, the change, the kind of resilience that company needs to bring in to adapt and cope with drastic changes that are hitting companies from becoming productive. Digital transformation is another challenge that is posing serious threats to people. The way digital transformation is happening at the pace, people are struggling to cope up with that pace. Additionally, when you look at certain value-based culture that the company needs to also carry, all these are some of the business problems that today's organizations are facing. And coming back to productivity and retention, I'm going to take a very clinical approach in telling you what is that we should be doing different and thinking different. So during my stint in EY, one of the beautiful things that I learned is asking disruptive questions. When you ask disruptive questions, you get disruptive questions always lead to better answers, and better answers always lead to better ways of working. So the moment you think of disruptive thought. So this topic came to my mind, and I started thinking, how can we solve this problem? See, why attrition happens? Most of us know. People leave for salaries, people leave for job satisfaction, people leave for better work-life balance, people leave for more benefits, and people leave for other demographic reasons like maybe location, relocation, and other personal constraints. This is a no-brainer. All the HR team members sitting here in this room, all of us know this. And if I come and tell you the same thing, that you have to do this on these areas to retain talent, it is going to be a sheer waste of all your time, right? So what I've done is I'm taking a risk-based approach to understanding this and looking at it from a very different lens. From a conventional approach to a value-added approach is what I'm going to talk about to all of you. So this is the general push and pull factors that I want to talk of. I don't know how many of you are able to see this. Can we move this a little this side? Yeah. Okay, so is the presentation visible to all of you? Right, thank you. So the push and pull factors. So the push and pull factors means what? Factors that influence people and attract them is your pull factors. Factors that make people leave your organization is your push factors. And these are all generic factors that we all know of. And the moment we think of retention, what comes to our mind is this. The moment we think of how to attract people to join us, the pull factor comes into mind. But what I am going to deep dive into is something that most of us wouldn't have really delved into. But those problems, most of us would have been suffering, and we wouldn't have pertinently spoken about those aspects. This is the risk-based approach that I want to take. Let me give you a quick example of how in people and culture you can look at a risk-based approach. An example that I can take off is defining risk. How do we define risk? Anything that poses threat to an organization's existence, its revenue, its reputation, and its customer satisfaction is called as a risk for a company. It can be people-related risk, process-related risk, or other political and economic and socio risk. Now, in our context, the risk that we are talking of is what are the risks that we should think of which will lead our people's productivity to become lower? And what are the risks that we are talking of which will push our people out of the company? And that's what we're going to be talking. So end of my presentation, I would want to leave you all with a thought. How can organizations move towards retaining people by looking at conventional approach to making them more risk appetite averse? There are two types of risks. One is apparent risk, which probably is very pertinent. A lot of us know what they are, and that's what we looked at from a push and pull factor standpoint. And unexposed risk, unintelligible risk. And this is something not too many of us realize. And these are risks that are probably underlying triggers for employees to leave, which they don't mention in the exit forms, or neither do they openly. And any other hidden causes that they don't really want to talk about, fearing relationship. There could be aspects which are unconscious actions which happen in the company. People don't know that they're doing this mistake because of which employees are leaving. It could also be factors which are really ignored conveniently. The first factor I'm talking of is, what if incompetent leaders are leading the firm? Risk number one, right? Most of us would have come through this. We would have leaders who we feel is incompetent. You would see a lot of websites where you give feedback about companies like your Ambition Box or Indeed or your Glassdoor. The first thing it talks about a company is how many of you approve your CEO. Why should it be like that? Because he's the leader of the firm. And if he or she is incompetent, then there is going to be a problem. So the first factor is leadership incompetency. And many a times, leaders, it is not that they want to be incompetent. And hence, I'm bringing in a thought process called blind spot, leadership blind spot. And how do you uncover those blind spot? I don't know, in your MBA curriculum, have you, do you have something called Johari window? Yes, you have. And this is the concept that I'm talking of. When a leader understands Johari window well, and he is able to embrace, he or she is able to embrace that, then he can uncover a lot of blind spots. So what are those blind spots we are looking at? Lack of self-awareness. And my friend earlier, Vikas, spoke of generation gap. And this generation gap can be one of the blind spots for a leader. His expectations from the talent which has come on board very recently, your generation Z and generation Alpha going to be coming, there will be vast difference. And that gap, leaders don't realize and understand that. That's one of the biases. And then also having, you know, that autocritic way of looking at it, that I know everything. Brightest of the idea can probably come from not so smart people in your team. You should never ignore those as a leader. And leaders are not those people who create ideas. Leaders are those who create a conducive environment where your entire team can generate ideas. If you talk, there is one perspective. If you listen, there are multiple perspectives. And that is how I see leaders may have to be. So how do we uncover these unconscious biases? How do we uncover these blind spots that leaders have? That's what is given in the uncovering blind spots slide that I put in. Self-introspection. A leader needs to continuously keep doing self-introspection. What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? Unless we have the habit of seeking feedback, you will never get to know some of the blind spots, which is why I put in the Johari window here. Those that others know about you and you never realized, you should ask feedback and get to know what those blind spots are. And hence seeking feedback is very critical. And then leadership capability assessments and development interventions will help a greater deal in terms of upskilling leaders to match the new generation workforce thought process. And next risk aspect that I'm going to talk of, a very favorite and interesting topic. How many of us in our previous jobs have left because of managers? Can I simply have a show of hands? Many of us? In a positive way, great. That's nice to know. Research indicates that a whopping 57% of the talent has left in the year 2022 because of a burnt relationship between them and their reporting supervisor, which is an alarming number of people are leaving because of the discomfort that their reporting supervisors are creating. And I have conceived a model from Great Managers Institute, a study conducted by them, and this is the model. And this model talks of 3 pillars: connect, develop, inspire. Connect is being transparent with your people. Be open, approachable, and honest as a reporting supervisor. And create a platform where your team member comes and talks about some of the flaws and mistakes without having fear of being judged or retaliated. And ensure that you communicate bad things first. Even if you delay good things for a few days, it doesn't matter. But bad things need to be communicated first. And always be a trustworthy person for your subordinates. These are some of the ways in which a supervisor can embrace better communication with his teams. And develop. Always have a focus on developing your own people. If they grow, you will grow. Supervisors who are able to attract and retain talent are those that focus on developing their people, their capability, making them realize that they could do something that they never thought they would otherwise do if you didn't prompt them to do so. And that's the beauty of a reporting supervisor. Create platforms and give them positions which can harness their strengths. Coach them, give them right feedback, and mentor them so they can develop on their weaknesses. Take care of their career growth the way you would take care of your own growth. These are things that comes under development. Third thing, inspire. Inspire your people through your leadership. Inspire by walking the talk. Inspire by being consistent. Inspire by rewarding the right behavior and performance. Inspire by making them do something that they have never done in the past. Inspire by rewarding and recognizing the right people in the team. And motivate them, reward them, recognize them frequently. These are the 3 things, 3 key pillars that will help you retain talent. And wherever you are not happy with the way your manager managed, learn from it, not to do that to your subordinate. And wherever you're happy the way your manager managed you, continue to do so and give more to your teams. And this is where you can create a difference as a supervisor. A people manager, a great people manager, can be a talent promoter. And that is something that is a risk that most companies do not identify. So if your people are leaving and without quoting reasons, then it could be that you have to train your people managers. One way to look at it is practically how to change this. Do an assessment of your people managers. Ask them to do a self-assessment of some of these critical areas. And then you do an assessment from their teams as to what they feel about their leader on those qualities. And match the following. The difference is the people manager blind spot. Any manager who says that I'm great in inspiring my team, but the team feels contradictory, which means that the manager needs to be coached in that area. And that's his blind spot. This is how you can probably make this risk, mitigate this risk by doing this. The next risk is toxic culture. A lot of us would have seen that some of your previous supervisors mostly might have created a very hostile environment for all of you so that you can't continue and thrive in a company. You decide that you quit and move to a different place, either by withdrawing the support they give you or by not acknowledging you for your work that you did, or by making things more difficult for you to achieve, or by constantly criticizing you so your self-esteem is killed. These are toxic cultures. And this toxic culture kills you within the office, and it also travels along with you to your house. So much so that you start frowning at your children at home, start shouting at your wife, parents. You start spending sleepless nights. I have seen employees coming to me that I can't sleep because my manager did this to me. So, toxic culture is something that all of us need to be aware of. How can we overcome toxic culture? What are some of the key elements that we need to focus in building a culture of an organization is something that my next slide is going to focus on. Leadership, we've spoken enough of it already. People capability. How can you develop your people's capability? By training them, by giving them, identifying the strengths and weaknesses and ensure that those capabilities that they need to hone should be developed rightly. And putting in a right career development framework. What is career development framework? In a company, a career development framework means if I'm in a role or a designation, where do I move next? What is my vertical and horizontal growth path in this current role? What is the minimum number of years that I should be spending in a particular designation? And what competency levels am I supposed to be working on right now? And what competency level I should be working on if I have to get to the next role? Defining all of this clearly is nothing but your career development framework. And if you have a clear career development framework, your employees know what to do in order to get promoted, what to do in order to move to a different role. That needs to be clearly distinguished. Relationships. All of us in an organization like good conducive culture. We want to collaborate. We want to actually create an environment where people can thrive, they can give their best. And for that, relationship is the foundation. And people and culture function is responsible for creating great relationships in the firm. By making people collaborate, by making people interdependent. If you think I'm always self-reliant, then which means that you're arrogant. So you should definitely ask for help when needed. You should help people without being asked. And that's collaboration. Building teams is very different from building families. Organizations should move away from creating teams to creating families. What happens in a family? When your wife falls sick, you take care of babysitting. And when you are outside working on some travel, your wife does the job that you're doing. So you try and see how you can reverse the roles when it is required in a family. And there are people to do your job as backups in family. But when it comes to organization, sadly, whenever we go on leave, 2 days, 3 days, you have to come back and do your job on your own. When you build this culture of collaboration, there you will build this culture of a family. And you know when somebody is going away on leave, you take the burden. And when you are going on leave, without being asked, the other person will take it. That's how you need to create families, not teams. Collaboration. And workload. If employees do not know what lies ahead of them for that particular day, it becomes very difficult for them to plan. Create a proper workload. Additionally, embrace work-life integration. People always keep talking about work-life balance. Work-life balance does not exist anymore. Work-life integration is what is going to be embraced going forward. What is an example of work-life integration? I'm a recruiter. I'm supposed to be coming on Saturday for a recruitment drive. I'm supposed to be traveling to probably from here, maybe Karnataka, you look at Manipal, you have to travel to Manipal. Pick up a Friday, pick up a Monday, travel on a Saturday to Manipal, spend time with your family for 2 days, there in a nice beach. Go for a recruiting drive on Monday, finish off your task, Monday evening travel with your family back home. That's work-life integration. You don't feel the pinch of leaving your family behind and going and working on a weekend. At the same time, you're achieving your job that you want to achieve, plus your family is also happy, you spend time closer to them. Similarly, in office, when you're sitting and paying some bills, personal errands, which you're taking care of, that's work-life integration. Right? So think of that. Controls. Without controls, nothing will exist. If you don't have the right controls in processes, in policies, in the way you look at everything, it becomes tough for you to manage a company and manage profitability. Controls. Why are internal auditors in place in most companies? Why do statutory auditors come and look at your financial statements? Why can't they assume that everything is right? Because they know that if that assumption will kill us sometime. Controls, very, very critical for an organization's existence. And people and culture practices, state-of-art practices, continue to keep embracing those practices in order to ensure that we have the right practices which improve productivity and improve retention. Having a flawed appraisal system is the next risk I want to talk about. Having a flawed appraisal system means what? End of the day, your employee and manager does not come into an agreement on a rating. I rate you A, and you think that you deserve better than that. So this disagreement leads in resentment, and then people leave. Why disagreement? What can we do to avoid these disagreements? That's a big risk. And this presentation, this slide, addresses those risks. What can be making a performance appraisal system a flawed appraisal system? Right? Absence of quantifiable metrics. I don't know how many of you are statistics students here. What is data validity, scalability? We all know what is data validity, scalability. If two people are appraising the same person independently, the views have to be the same. But on the contrary, if it is different, then the appraisal system is flawed. Only way to make your appraisal system strong is to include quantifiable key performance indicators which are measurable. That's white and black. There are no two ways about it. And a performance appraisal system should always have components which describe the what's and components that describe the hows of work. That's the best performance appraisal system that you could ever design for your employees. If you have to achieve 80% of your goals in terms of filling positions on time, then there are no two ways about it. There cannot be disagreement on it. If you have achieved 70%, then your performance is here. If you achieved 60%, your performance is here. If you achieved 90%, your performance is here. That's so clear. Sans ambiguity. And that's the power of having quantifiable KPIs in your appraisal system. Treating appraisals like a tick in the box. Many of our reporting supervisors would have even done this in the past that we've seen. You just take it as a tick in the box. But when managers and reporting supervisors take this appraisal as a tool to develop their people, the entire outlook changes. The seriousness on appraisal changes. And the way you will do your appraisal will also change. The sanctity of conducting an appraisal becomes very different. Constantly changing KPIs. What if you're asked to travel to Delhi and you're stopped on the way in Hyderabad? I'm asking you to go to Kolkata. And then you're traveling all the way, you reached Vizag. I'm saying no, you come back to Chennai. That is what it feels like when you change KPIs of your people. Inevitable circumstances can still be understood. But when you're changing KPI, give them that benefit that yes, your goalpost changed during this year. And that benefit has to be passed on. Favoritism and nepotism is another issue that kills the appraisal system. The moment you have a favorite person credited from a performance standpoint, great performers in your team will get demotivated. While they will not come and tell you or question you, sometimes people do so, but 2 out of 10 people question, 8 out of 10 people silently quit and go. That's the reality. Personal and cultural biases. I appraise somebody on performance because I'm biased. He comes from the same college that I did my education. He comes from the same community that I come from. He probably worked in the same company as me before. And then he and me are like-minded. These are personal and cultural biases, which probably will be detrimental to appraising people. I think these are some of the key aspects that we need to focus from a risk standpoint, from a performance appraisal. So last, before I leave, I'll reiterate quickly. When we look at retention in a very practical way, we will only think of what needs to be done. But when you look at it from a risk angle, you will think about what did we not think, what did we not do properly that needs to be now fixed. What have we not realized which needs to be realized? And that's the right approach I think we need to take in order to improve productivity and retain talent. Thank you, and questions? Please, go on. Sorry? Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
When you are awake for 14 hours in a day on an average, and you are in office for 9 hours and then you travel for 1.5 hours, I think the balance is already gone first of all. But I wanted to, ask you something about, like, let's take example, a company like Amazon, where you have core operation processes, right? And you have systems and processes in place which try to track that how much time you are active on a system as well, right? So when we have these kind of processes and place, which are where HR is also part of it, placing them in systems. So how do you manage that? And when we are having these challenges, how do we, as HR, go back to the employee and say that, no, we are trying to bring you the work-life balance or work-life integration, or, you're going to have a good life balance. So what do you think about that?
Okay. I'm seriously not an advocate of making people work for 14 hours, right? So, okay. So 9 hours at work. 9 hours at work is still okay. I mean, you take your lunch breaks and you take other breaks, and, you kind of take your personal calls in your office. So 9 hours is actually not 9 hours. And, it's the way we look at it. When you think, your outlook has to change the way you look at work-life balance, right? The moment you keep complaining, everything becomes a problem. And, every single situation becomes a challenge. And the moment you think practically, as to really, are you spending the entire 8 hours productively and sitting and working? The answer, most of us know that it is no. And if you're working from home, are we working the entire 8 hours? The answer all of us know is actually, no. So in such scenario, employees practically need to think that, does pampering us really make sense in terms of work-life balance and all those aspects. So that practical thought process will help you overcome this thought of I'm overworking. See, our mind is actually like a monkey. There is constructive and destructive thought, both playing havoc in your mind at the same time. The monkey that you feed will continue to survive. So it's all about thought. Yes.
The slides which...
Sorry, I can't hear you. Yeah.
Hi, can you all hear me now?
Yeah, now I can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Okay. So in the slide which you have presented, actually I have a couple of things. First thing is, most of the employees leave the organization because of the issues with the managers.
Yeah.
So how many of the associates are willing to raise this issue with HR partners? See, every coin has two sides. If the management is not supporting to the associate, and even associate have to go and raise their issue with the HR partners. I mean, how many of the associates are willing to address this issue? See, I'm having this issue with my manager. If he is behaving with me like this, I can't work. We ourselves are we say that, no, what if I say, how my career will be, out of and out of fear, we ourselves won't express our concerns to the hierarchy management, thinking they might fire me or it might affect my career. So I am part of separation team. Actually started with team. So most of the employees raise this issue in their exits, stating dissatisfied with manager and all. But instead of raising a resignation, it's actually a good sign if they directly work with the HR partner. And the other thing is, the issue with HR partners is like, for 1,000 employees, there will be one or two HR partners. So being the HR partner, he will be showing B, and by the time the associate, the HR partner gives the response, associate mind gets changed, and he will be going for termination, or he might be getting the other job as well. So the process needs to be changed, like from the roots onwards, it needs to be changed, because when an associate says that, okay, we will revoke your, we will give you promotion, but you have to revoke. But the time, see, this is appraisal has been done, you need it for 3 to 4 months. So he would be thinking that, what if I stay 4 months, whatever package that I'm getting other side. So doing the things faster, analyzing with the contacting the associates would be much helpy. It would be much good choice for the companies to meet employees. And we also that even I shared this report with all the stakeholders in my organization or to the clients on regular basis. But the impact or the decisions will take 6 to 8 months. So they are lagging behind. So these are the other things. And the other thing, mental health. Every organization actually takes care of their associates, but we don't reach out to them. And we also receive Outlook emails stating that mental awareness, we will be having a session with psychiatrists and all. But how many of we see that email, or how many of we actually look into it? So I feel like the mistake is from both sides. So how do you say, what's your point on this?
Right, okay. So I'll actually convert your question to three parts. One is, you're talking about the discomfort with supervisors and people leave because of that. Precisely the reason why the data shows us 57% of people last year left because of the discomfort with the reporting supervisor. And to overcome that, I spoke of some three critical pillars that companies need to focus. One, obviously to focus on that. Two, to create platforms where employees can anonymously voice out concerns with their reporting supervisors. I think companies can continue to do that. But at the same time, you also have concerns which probably come by way of personal retaliation against a supervisor. You could all, those kind of concerns. There are employees who probably raise concerns which are not true. This also happens. One of the ways in which you can combat the issues with your manager is to actually have a feedback mechanism which is probably anonymous, is something that I told you. And another way is to make it mandatory for appraising all people managers based on their people scores. You should ask their team members to do a small NPS score which can help them assess how a people manager is doing. You can include that as part of the people manager's developmental plan or coaching plan, whatever it can be. So developing your people supervisors' capabilities in terms of managing their teams better will solve this problem, whatever it is. The second question is, there are very few HR members in your company who are dealing with, say, hundreds of employees. So I had this issue in one of my previous firms, and I actually invented something called as HR catalysts. And people who are passionate about the relationships, people who are passionate about connecting, and people who are people sensitive, we pick up those individuals and give them a role of a catalyst. And they will be the voice of, say, about 100 people, 200 people in a group or a particular team. And those catalysts will be your extended arms of the HR business partner. And instead of searching for an HR business partner when you have concerns, you can voice out your concerns to those people catalysts. And those people catalysts can assume office once in a year, you can keep changing their portfolios once in a year. And end of that particular year, you can reward those people catalysts with a certificate and probably a cash reward saying you played a people catalyst role for us this year, whoever is doing well, right? So this is one way that obviously you can't hire 10 and 20 HR people. The company is worried about costs. One way to combat this is use your people sensitive individuals in the business group, pick them up, make them catalysts. Does that answer your question? Thank you.
So I'm sorry to interrupt, but thank you for answering that question, sir.
Yeah.
We have arranged dinner and networking. So after this, you can all ask questions there, free of time. But thank you so much. Thank you, sir. I request.
Thank you.
Yeah, I request. So please stay on the stage 1 second. I request MD sir and Kavita ma'am to felicitate Rangarajan sir on stage. Yeah. That's it. No. Thank you, Mr. Rangarajan. It was deep and insightful to hear you talk about boosting productivity and retention, HR strategies for success. Thank you. Can I have a round of applause? Thank you, sir. Now, in addition to our esteemed guest speakers, I would like to extend a warm welcome to our panelists for the discussion. Topic: digital skills for employees navigating new era of literacy. Our first speaker, Mr. Anand Arora, Vice President of HR at Landmark Group, I would request Mr. Ritesh sir to welcome him with flowers. So, experienced total rewards and talent analytics professional with a demonstrated history of working in various industries such as retail, telecom, engineering, QSR, and financial, skilled in deferred compensation, employee benefits design, compensation, bench surveys, PMS, HRMS, implementation, HR analytics, payroll, talent management, and change management. Strong HR professional with an MBA focused in HRM and general management from IIM now. I request you to read. Our second speaker is Lekha, Director, Learning and Development at Begur Technology. I request Kavita ma'am to hand flowers. She is a highly versatile and results-driven learning and development professional with over 20 years of experience in championing learning and development strategies, facilitating long-range planning to ensure early delivery of service and solution basis the market requirement. Track record in building high-performing agile teams and turnaround L&D intervention, increase revenues, customer satisfaction, and employee engagement. Leading and motivating individuals to levels of productivity, forming cohesive environments. Please stay. My third speaker is Ms. Chaudhary, Assistant Vice President, Global Talent Management and Development at Sutherland Global Service. I request Kavita to welcome her with flowers. Ms. Simi has 18 years of experience in areas of talent management, organization development, diversity, and inclusion. She is obsessed with building high-performance, inclusive organizations and driving business priorities. In the last role, she headed talent management and development and implemented diversity for India. Prior to Sutherland, she has facilitated several projects and people initiatives in large global Wipro, Bosch, and Capgemini. She has designed numerous initiatives and that have helped organizations in their transformational journeys. Thank you.
I just take this for my LinkedIn.
Definitely. My fourth speaker is Mr. Sudeep Kumar Sen, Vice President HGI Group India. I would request Gopal welcome him with flowers. With 20 years of experience in HR services industry, he is a sales and marketing leader who is passionate about creating value for clients, employees, and stakeholders. His core competencies include new business acquisition, existing business growth, profitability optimization, sales force planning and development, strategy formulation and execution. Throughout his career, he has successfully delivered innovative and scalable solutions for various sectors such as industrial, manufacturing, engineering, technology, achieving an average growth at the rate of 25% every year. Also has a strong record of building and maintaining long-term relationships with key clients, partners, and stakeholders. Thank you, sir. My fifth speaker is Mr. Shivam S., founder of Ocean Resources and Services, LSE. I would request my Bharat sir to welcome him with flowers. A seasoned HR professional with close to 4 decades of professional experience, HR administration services spread across India and Middle East with value exposure in multiple industries. A postgraduate in HR with a professional master's degree in business administration from Glasgow University, UK. Also has several other academic and non-academic credits. After retiring from his full-time corporate at a law association in Muscat with 42 different business employing 1,000 people across Oman, UAE, and India, Kimji Ramdas. Currently, he is an independent consultant facilitating organizations on people, technology, strategy, and process management. Thank you, sir. Lastly, our very own Professor Hari Prakash sir, I would request Mohan sir to welcome him with flowers. A strategic corporate leader who, after 34 years of experience in directing corporates into growth areas, is now active in academics. Worked with top brands like MF, Tata Motors, Seat Tires, Bridgestone, Gillette, and Valvoline as a leader and was responsible for many successes as marketing head. Associated with leading B schools in Bangalore. He is a master moderator for panel discussions at trade and business school conferences, coach and mentor to junior national sports champion. Dear all, welcome you to the stage. I encourage the audience to actively participate in the discussions, ask questions, and absorb the knowledge that will be shared. The event is an incredible opportunity for you to bridge the gap between theory and practice, gaining valuable insights into the skills and competencies. Over to you, Professor.
Thank you so much, Kiran, and welcome to all the HR delegates for this panel discussion. My only credential to be a moderator at HR Conclave of this stature with this Fab 5 of speakers is I'm a son of a HR manager, and apart from that I have lived only selling, so I'm a marketing professional. But before coming this evening, I saw a WhatsApp message which said that there was a research done by Gallup in US, and it said digital transformation is a big thing, and who is championing this digital transformation? Is it the CEO, CXO, or is it the CTO or CHRO? And the response to that from leading managers of top corporations has been, it's a COVID-19 that actually, propelled the entire digital transformation. Not a good or a sort of a sad commentary to this, yet I think India has been leading this digital transformation and digital competencies. HR leaders like the ones we have on the stage have championed in their careers, and I want to start this first discussion by asking a common question to all the five, starting from Neka, Lekha, and we go this order. A quick answer on what do you think are the requirements for all the HR professionals that are here when it comes to digital competencies? Only for HR professionals.
Can you hear me?
First thoughts.
Perfect, thanks. Great question to start with, and I've been put on spot, so let me answer the question first, right? I will probably take a couple of steps back and talk a little bit about industry revolution, right? First industry revolution was propelled by steam. Then came the second, which was electricity. And then third came, which was probably basic automation and more of machinery. And today we are here on the fourth industry revolution, where we're talking about intelligent computers, right? I might also take his quote, COVID could also be a propeller there, right? But having said that, intelligent computers is what we're looking at as of today. Right. So when I look at the fourth industry revolution, in my mind, what are we talking about? There are four key tenets which we are talking about here. One is connectivity and data. We are connected all across, right? Whether it is so-called X or erstwhile Twitter or Facebook or whatever we're talking about, we're connected with everybody. There's a humongous amount of data which we have. So that's my first tenet, right? The second tenet is all about analytics, intelligence and analytics. The third one is human and machine interactions. Everybody has Alexa at home, right? And the last one, which I feel is the advanced engineering. On one side, the spectrum of advanced engineering we have is, on one side, we're talking about, let's say, renewable energy, and on the second side, we're talking about, of course, our rover is on the south pole of the moon, right? So that's advanced engineering, what we're talking about. That's just one part of the story. The second part of the story is, how did we get here? Right? And that's us. There's nobody else. It's us, right? It's you, it's me, it's our employees, it's our people whom we interact day in, day out. And what in us got us here is our competencies, is our digital competencies which got us here, where we are able to call this era as of intelligent computers. Even today, we call that as artificial intelligence, right? The actual intelligence is with us. So unless and until we have the required competency, whether it is HR, whether it is anybody, from any industry, any platform, whatever we're talking about, unless and until we have those competencies, which is required for us to drive this fourth industrial revolution, we will not be able to have a growth, we will not be able to live a peaceful and more happier life and have a world-class experience. So I think that's how relevant it is.
Good start, ma'am. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, I think all of you can hear me. Before I answer, I think I always do this. think of the professionals. One, a doctor, a lawyer, and probably the third would be probably a teacher. Throughout this, from the time we kind of have understood these professions, we've always seen that they come back and they study. A doctor still studies because each case, imagine he's a surgeon, he studies because criticalities. Same goes with the lawyer, and I think the same goes with even teachers. So what does it mean? I'm picking up words from what Vikas said in terms of the fact that reskilling, it's very important for us to reskill. What she said is about historical events which has made people to understand that change is important, and they kind of have changed. What is that change? It's nothing but again they reskilled. So people were fighting with swords, the guns came, the guys who kind of reskilled them from swords to to guns had their job as with the employer, whatever it was, right? So I think this is one important thing. The other two important things are the narrative skills and the presentation skills. I think I could not answer that point of time to one of the lady who had raised the question that how to popularize. Think of an airport. Today in the airport, if you see, they put a big display of how you should put the stuffs, right? It's called Drishyam. I'm sure all of you have watched the part 1 and the part 2. So a lot of HR fraternity, all of you say that how do I popularize? It's the innovative thinking. It's nothing else. The leaders in the company always look at you and say you are a cost, and probably to the department saying that you are generating revenue. The difference is innovation. So if you want to make the cut and start making them think that you're different, you have to be innovative. That's second. Third is learn from others. It's not possible that everything, I mean, one of the reasons why we always look for this opportunity is because of the fact that from Rajan's presentation I picked up something. I know Vikas, I'm going to pick up many things from them. I mean, my pad is there, I've started writing. And tomorrow it happens that, people pick up, and that's how we learn. So that's very important for all of you to learn. And I think the last point is we heard about Johari's window. Ask yourself the question that am I good? Am I going to be a better version of me the next week, the next month? If not, work on that. I think that sums it up. Thank you.
Shivam sir.
Thank you, Mr. Arifat. With due acknowledgement to what Ms. Lekha and Sudeep said, I just would like to take a slightly different angle. Because it's an assembly of HR colleagues. Starting from Neanderthal age, at the Stone Age, we have changed. God has created us with capability to change. Okay? Or you perish. So the change, digitalization, digital transformation will. And in the corporate world, even if you don't want to change, you will be forced to change the day. The question is, you change early, you forerunner, or you change right at the end where you are left out. But I'm trying to tell you as a HR professor is that behind every digitalization process or the earlier computerization process or whatever the process is that, we should have that one single competency to look at the people behind this data and analytics, artificial intelligence or machine learning. As a HR professional, your main competency, learn all the things required, no doubt about that. But don't lose competency, see the person behind whatever you do. I just want to take example of your problem with the leave. Okay. Have you seen person behind that your policy? That is critical. If you have seen the person behind the policy, your policy would have, you are already moderated. What, like Vikas said, there are n number of ways to manage these things. But many times, we as HR professionals, we are driven by certain ambition or a need, our own inquisitiveness to learn something without giving the human perspective to that learning.
Absolutely.
So my take on this whole issue is learn everything, change, digitalize, digitalization, digital transformation, let all three phases go. But see the person who is in the organization for whom you make all these processes. Thank you.
Great. Human perspective, absolutely, yeah.
So all of what you've said, and just a couple more. I think as HR professionals, a few things that have held me in good stead is learnability. And we've spoken about that. Learning never, ever, ever stops. If you think that with 5 years of experience, 10 years of experience, 2 decades of experience, you know it all, I'm sorry you don't, because the goal is constant. I'll give you an example. A couple of years ago, I joined as the head of learning for a data startup. And honestly, I have a freaking clue what is Python, what is Hadoop, what is SL, DAX. But I made it a point to read. And when I read, it just went overhead. Then I, resorted to asking specialists, and I told them, explain it to me in extremely language. We all have different learning preferences. Understand what works for you. Right now, I believe, and because you spoke about ADHD, so I have ADHD. And I find it very difficult to learn. I find it very difficult to stay in the moment and gather stuff. But understand your learning preference. Right now, podcasts work miracles for me, right? Because I'm eliminating some external stimuli and just focusing on what the podcast is. So figure out whether reading helps you, a podcast helps you, a e-learning, bite-sized module helps you. Please keep the learning trajectory going on for you. The second most important thing is be creative. Think out of the box. Challenge the process that you're working on. Somebody spoke about exit, somebody spoke about something else. And trust me, again, I'll go back a few years ago. I was working on this project on getting all the IT infrastructure of Wipro accessible for people with disabilities, which meant that somebody with a speech impairment or visual impairment could still work on the applications because it was all compliant to the web accessibility guidelines. And at that moment, I sat with the IT head and I asked him, how about we offer this as a service to our clients? Our clients are still not thinking about accessibility. We have started thinking about it. So the point here is we all can create our own, forms of the revenue generation. Be creative, think out of the box. These are the two things that are extremely critical. In leadership assessments, when we want to assess if this is a digital leader, we don't put leader to a digital assessment like, an AI/ML assessment. We actually check for learnability. We actually check for agility. We actually check for adaptability. These are the soft, I don't like using the word soft skills, but these are the soft skills that actually promote digital adoption and evangelization. These storytellers, I loved what Sudeep said. As HR business partners, please learn the art of storytelling, right? If you're to package what you're doing, like right now we are moving into an HR digital HRMS, and it's very boring, to be very honest. I mean, I just don't like it at all, the product itself. But yes, we are making this change for 70,000 employees, and what I am requesting the communications team is, let's do great storytelling. And they're like, how do we package this? And the whole thing of how do you influence, how do you help in the change management process?
Thank you.
I think the last one to speak, so easy to say everything. Let me pick it on what last said. Be a great storyteller. First thing, 2-3 years back, we had a huge thing by Prime Minister of India coming on TV and saying, next day onwards, the notes are not working, right? All of us would have seen that era, right? First day, huge issue, not possible, everything dropped. You know, the moment I turned on the TV, I just entered at that time out. Like, is work or what is going on? And believe you me, at that time, and I'm not saying anything on it, on politics, sorry, nothing on politics, just a storytelling. You know, the person marketed it so very well that next time came up with a thumb majority. 2 big steps, demonetization, GST. The way it got marketed, the government got re-elected, everyone suffered. Everyone suffered. Not even a single rupee of black market or black currency was found. As per RBI, I don't know. 99 point something was returned, which means every single rupee was what RBI printed. The thought was, we want to take off fake currency, hence we have done it. But still, the same government came back with a thumping majority. That's the art of storytelling.
Great.
So whenever you think of, that is the art of storytelling, is that we should look at. Nothing to do with politics, sorry. Second, I will take one more minute over here. You know, with respect to what digitization, it's a necessity today. It is no more good to have. Geo Mobile, I think it came a few years back only. I think 5 years or 7 years back. And today, they are #1, beating the Airtel as well, with almost 20% more subscribers. In case, and if you remember, prior to Jio, it was all hard copies. Your Aadhaar was collected hard copy, your PAN or whatever was required, it was hard copy. The change that they brought in was they tied up with UADI. They said we will do it there and then, rather than collecting the hard copies, sending it to someone, then activation and all that. They changed the entire industry, did everything digitized, and within several years, they have beaten the market. That is what digitization can do or is required to do. And hence, HR professionals, if we are not, I would say, going to that path, we can't be leading. We will always be considered okay, and whatever memes that we get will be always considered as, okay, Rangoli bana lo, Diwali saja lo, floors plan kar lo, that's what we will do. So that's why the only thing is, it is the need of the hour, and we have to have that skills. There is no saying that, you know, we will do it later. This is today that we have to do it.
Thank you, sir. My first directed question is to Shivam sir. When I first saw him this evening, I thought, when somebody told me that he has 40 years of experience, I told him he looks 35, and how can he have 40 years of experience? Thank you. But on a serious note, 40 years of journey in HR, the skill sets that were required in 80s versus the skill sets that are required in 2023. What are the skill sets that you can dispense with, leave, and what are the things that are a must? 1 minute, sir. Quick 1 minute answer.
Since I have the advantage of having worked in the pre-LPG, the liberalization, privatization, the globalization age, and then the post-LPG, that's later part of the great Narasimha Rao Manmohan Singh team. Between, up to 1990s, basically we used to be, I qualified as postgraduate masters in personal management, industrial labor. Today they call nice days human resources. But what we were doing where we were principally ensuring there is peace in the industry.
Peace in the industry.
Okay. We used to do all the gimmicks. I worked as a personal officer, then I became a deputy managing industrial relations for a huge unit of HMT here in Jalahalli. And probably why I balded my head is the impact that I have taken those days. Our job was basically to maintain peace in the industry or the industry where you work, and to ensure that there is a production process is not hampered. There is no stoppage. This was our main activity. Okay, we used to do little bit, some administration, some employee engagement is something unknown. It was a union which used to engage the employee. We never had. And managers are always in the receiving end. And thanks to our LPG process, starting from the 1992-93, the new narrative of what the corporate human relations and the corporate human resource management started taking place. Okay. Now, okay, then there are, even earlier days also, there was a performance management system. Again, it was only ticking the boxes, nothing much. It's all depending upon what supervisor did. But post, what happened is, there is a lot of respect for an individual started coming.
Absolutely.
And the responsibility to manage that respect slowly started shifting from the union to the management. Okay. This is where the real value addition I can see. There was a process of evaluation wherein the management started taking responsibility for everything that is happening in the employment life of an employee. Okay, that is the fundamental change which took place. Okay, I had the opportunity to go through that process slowly. Then came later part of the 1990s when the actual HRMS systems and the computerization, all those things process started, where it is not a digitalization. Probably we transfer the data into the hard copies into some kind of a computerized or printed format. Nothing much beyond that. So that was the learning process, and then subsequently the actual digitalization process started later part of 2015 onwards. But few competencies, whether you were there earlier, whether you are now, has not much changed for the HR people. I would like to underline the HR people. In my opinion, many of our youngsters are missing this point. The one, whether you are maintaining the peace or you are in the most advanced form of human resource management, the connect with the employees have to stay intact for any HR person. That competency cannot be compromised.
That's an evergreen competency.
Yes, that's one of the main competencies which cannot be compromised. I don't know what will happen in the next 20 years. At least as of today, I'm with my 100% commitment, I'm telling you, that competency is to relate with your employees has to remain intact.
Great.
Point number 2. There is somebody said that, the employee has issues, but he couldn't go to the line manager, but he came to me, and why should the HR person did, and HR person did not do something, you explain. The point I'm trying to explain to you is, with all the processes, with all the digitalization, etc., still the last mile connectivity for an employee is a human being. Let the last mile connectivity, after he exhausts everything, the last mile connectivity, it could be a supervisor or it can be a HR guy. If he has got the trust with the supervisor, you would have already gone to him. He would never come to you. He would have gone and discussed with you. But when he is exhausted all the available avenues and he comes to you. And that is where, as a HR person, we should have the competencies to establish the trust. When an employee comes to me, he will be heard 100% without biasness, and to the best of my ability, I will try to give a solution which may not be always acceptable to him, but I still have the trust with the employee that the solution I am trying to tell him is acceptable to him, though it may not be as per his requirement.
Great.
The third competency is again essential for all of us, is to look at externally. Many of us have failed in looking externally. Who externally when I say is beyond your HR, beyond your organization, beyond your four walls of the factory or the corporate office that you are working. We need to, HR person has to now externally, the end external beneficiary of our is the customer. Do we have the ability to look at that? Again, the gentle lady asked, can I increase the revenue? Like the technical manager, whomever it is, you ask that question. My question is, can you relate yourself looking externally with your customer? If your customer is somebody who is requiring your service, can you look at externally and prepare yourself to serve him inside the organization. These are the three, I think, change that.
Perfect, sir.
And I hope I answered your question.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Now that Aurora said that you are missing the line, I'll jump to you and ask you this question. Your experience is in large format retail, telecom, all very heavily manpower dependent industries. You can pick up that mic. So to have the competencies, Anand sir, in large format retail, where very large workforce is there on the shop floor attending to customers, how do you identify their competency upgradation requirements? And then how do you go about training all these thousands and thousands of people in landmark, your Max stores, or telecom companies, Airtels, wherever you have worked in telecom industry, such a large force of very diverse capabilities, how do you identify their gaps and fill them?
Okay, so let me start that with an industry where I have worked. So any of you has visited to any QSR, which is McDonald's, Domino's, Pizza Hut, KFC, any of you? No one has visited this QSR? Almost everyone has visited, right? Do you find, I would say 90 to 95% or more than 80%, the product taste, whether you have it in north or south, the product taste is almost similar, right? There's never a difference in the product, right?
Yeah.
Because I have worked there, and when I was working, I could feel, whether it's our own restaurant or it's a franchisee restaurant. Believe me, I was able to at that time. Now I can't. So maybe at that time, because we were having regular over there. So what happened over there and what was it? It was actually the right SOP that was drafted, the right product that was delivered, which means each and every person, whosoever is cooking there, knew that at what temperature the thing has to be heated, the oil has to be heated, and up to how many minutes it has to be heated. And it was right up to that seconds. And everything, I don't know whether you are observed or not, everything has a shelf life. I worked in KFC, everything had a shelf life. And the team member who is the front line whom which, you go and place the order, had an authority. The moment it is out of shelf life, just pick it up from there, throw it in the dustbin. No questions asked. Absolutely no questions asked by anyone. Not even the store manager can say, this is a wastage. That's the kind of authority that was given to the frontliner. And that is what, when we come to a large format retail, that we do. The people who are there on the floor are given independence, have been given a curriculum or I won't say it as a curriculum the way it is, because sitting in a business school, curriculum will mean like this. In case they would have thought of doing a business school, I think they would never have stopped studying after 10th or 12th, because these people are 10th and 12th passed, right? The people whom do you interact with. They're not one of those who are sitting in this room. In case they wanted, yes, they would have studied, but somehow maybe the financial status didn't allow, or maybe they didn't want it to study. So finding that who is ready to learn itself is a task. And then teaching them in that way is another task. So again, let me take you back to the QSR days. Now what we did at that time is we made the entire thing or entire learning material. It was a US company. We made the entire learning material in similar way as a mythology. We connected that entire training manuals into short stories of depicting it like a mythology, right? And almost every Indian has gone through a mythology with respect to Ramayana or Mahabharata. Almost every Indian, I would say today, knows at least a ballpark story.
And the language used is regional language and Hindi?
It is regional language.
Okay.
And Hindi.
Absolutely.
And English wherever you require, but not every language that you can really go into, right? So the stories that were picked up, like, Atithi Devo Bhava, was picked up from one of the mythological stories. And it was not like, and it is all ingrained in us, right? You need not kind of train anyone that Atithi Devo Bhava, and then actually, we never said customer is the king. We always used to say guest is the king. Yeah. And we always used to say customer is the guest. And that guest will take you, and you need to take care of your guest. That's how the thing started. Yeah. Similar thing in, say, a lifestyle or a Max. We have guest. We never say customer is coming. We always say guest is coming. And then the overall thought process changes. The way you look at it.
I think it's the training is on the orientation that
the way
actually.
Mr. Goyal said that, who is the customer.
Yeah.
So that's what is kind of, you pick up the small things and then you turn it more around in such a way that these are small bites that people can actually take. Yeah. Because if you give 200 pages manual to a person to read and study when he is sitting or he is living in a room with 10 other people, because that's the salary that they get. They all get minimum wages. 10,000 rupees, 15,000 rupees. That's the salary that they get.
Yeah.
Because beyond that, business can't afford. And living in a city like Bangalore or a Delhi with 10,000, 15,000, I think we all should know how it is. They always share the rooms. Yeah. So all that is kind of, then you train them with that.
Yeah, my next question is to Lekha ma'am, because, quickly sir, we'll move fast.
I just wanted to, I know time is running short. I just want to add whatever Mr. Anand said. Like him, I worked with Pizza Hut. The learnability and the training comes by practice. In Pizza Hut, if a guest, they're very happy, when they're going out, there used to be a bell which is hanged near the door, and they will ring the bell. And normally when the children are there with the guest, they are very happy to go, somebody will lift that they keep on ringing it. But it is mandatorily taught to the people, the crew member in the Pizza Hut, whether they are in the toilet, kitchen, serving guest, or in the cashier. Every time the bell rings, all of them have to, in a unison, they have to say thank you.
Thank you, thank you,
And the child rings 6 times, they will say 6 times thank you.
Thank you,
These are simple things which is inculcated into them by way of first learning, then practice, and third as a culture. Then it becomes much more easier. Thank you. Sorry, I interrupted.
Yeah, sorry. Ma'am, my question to you is, developing competencies, especially digital competencies. You worked in companies like Unisys, Tesco, all high-tech technology companies. So how do you upgrade the technological and digital competencies to already friends of technology? They're all specialists, isn't it?
Absolutely. Great question there, right? I just want to quote something which World Economic Forum said. By 2025, we will have 97 million jobs which will require human beings to interact with machine algorithms. That's what they say, right? I don't even know what that means, right? But one thing, from purely L&D perspective, right, I'm a hardcore L&D person. How do I translate that for myself is Lekha, your job is secure for next 5 years.
That's an assurance.
Kidding. On the serious note, right? The way I read that is 2 things. One, reskilling is going to be continuous. We're talking about continuous reskilling, and we're talking continuous learning for employees. Thank you for take on that sense. Right? The second take on that sense is you need digital competencies. There is no way getting away from that piece. Those are 2 things from that quote which comes. And this is, I'm also shifting bias to the industry because I've been working a very, very long time in IT industry. Most of our working structure has been all around jobs, right? You develop a person for a particular job. That's how we have been doing things. I think we talked about it. We need to move to a skill-based organization. What does that mean? You don't focus too much on job. Job is not your core. The core is what is the potential that employee is having, and then start developing the skills for that particular employee, right? And once you start doing it, what is the impact you will start seeing is, one, the agility. It brings agility in your organization, right? Because you're upskilling that person to do his or her current role, but also looking in enhancing or empowering him or her for the next role, right? So the next role, the next project, the next customer, the next account, whatever it could be. So the agility in the organization is much more easier. The moment you bring agility in the organization, the growth comes up a little more higher. These two things are in place, innovation definitely will ring the bell.
Great.
Right? So two things I spoke. How do I read the World Economic Forum quote? The second thing, how we should move to a skill-based organization. Now, when I look at this whole package, right, the way I read things and the way I talk to my CTOs or the way I talk to my CDOs is, what is that you want to do? The focus is, and everybody says this unanimously, right? Technology will come and go, right? I learned C++. Today people are learning completely different thing. But what remains with us is, how do you design the logic to do that, right? How do you get to the reasoning of it? So I think all of us spoke about it, and that is, somebody calls it as soft skills, we call it as human skills, whatever skills you want to talk about. Critical thinking, analytical skills.
Problem solving.
Can you handle ambiguous situations? Can you navigate through ambiguous situations, right? Artificial intelligence will help you only this much. The remaining is your intelligence. So I think there is definitely going to be reskilling. We actually do a lot of investment in enhancing people's technology capability. It could be AI, ML, and all of that. But at the core, what we focus is, how do we increase their learnability quotient, and how do we increase their employability quotient? Absolutely. Right? And all these things are coming from the human skill aspect of it. And I think somebody said, I think it was you who said, technology, whatever skills we're talking about, we still need the human touch.
Human touch.
If you need to grow up in the ladder, if you need to do something different, if you need to bring innovation, you still need the human element.
So the techies are again reiterated on the human management skills.
I'll share something very funny, right? We put them through, I'm sure every organization does this. We put them through communication skills. Every now and then. It's not that they can't talk. It's just that they don't know how to articulate the things correctly. Somebody spoke about data storytelling. Numbers do not mean anything unless and until you can contextualize them. Yeah. Numbers does not mean anything. So I think that's how we understand this continuous reskilling, but our focus is something on these lines.
Yeah, great. Ma'am, let's go to another learned lady, Simi. My question to you is, again, you managed organizations which have huge manpower. Sutherland, Capgemini, Tradence, all these companies have got such huge manpower, 70,000, I think you said in the evening that 70,000 employees. How do you go about digitally making them competent, mass?
And that's a challenge, because leaders think that let's go out and hire to fill the skill gap, but it's very expensive. So I'll again give an example, right, to help you all understand this. If you look at NASSCOM's report, it talks about the great divide when it comes to data science skills. And I was part of a data science organization. And there was this need for 500 data scientists, like as of yesterday. And how do we go about hiring them? So what we decided was that we'll look at our internal pool. We will do a quick skill assessment. People with a good proficiency in maths and statistics, critical thinking, sense-making capabilities, and those who wanted to shift to a data science career path. We tied up with an external training partner, and they put together a 3-month-long program for us with capstone projects, and it was a completely blended model. Virtual classes, physical classes, people had to submit assessments, etc. And at the end of the 3 months, we had 375 data scientists that we were...
My next part of the question is, do you outsource most of the cases? Or is it internal talent?
So any training program is a collaboration with an external partner and internal SMEs. We cannot leave a training program and to absolutely outsource it. This particular training program that I'm talking about just 2 months ago won the Brandon Hall Gold Award. And for those of you who do not know what is a Brandon Hall Award, it is considered the Oscars of HCM, in the HCM category, right? So that's how, that was the kind of ROI that we generated for the organization. So yeah, this is what we do. We pick up, we do a skill audit, we look at people's interest areas, we know what our clients are asking us for, put people through a training program, and that's about it. It's actually simple.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, quite simple. You made it appear simple. Sir, Sudeep sir, again, you worked in companies now in GU Holdings, but I think your career has been in providing manpower to organizations like EDECO or Teamlease. So how do you give the right manpower who is digitally competent, meeting the requirements of organizations? How do you get to the act of acquiring the manpower right set of customers?
I think this question is very interesting because I wrote a note to him while I think Vikas and all are doing, which was, how do you actually prepare? So there are no rocket science, it's about the preparation. If I expect a result, can't think in the night and then go and ask the employee that, do you have it? It has to be a 90 days, it has to be a 120-day program, and that's how it is. What throughout probably the last years we have done, we have understood each customer's requirements, and we have told very bluntly to customers that don't tell me that I want as on yesterday, because if you are saying as on yesterday, then you have no prediction about the businesses, right? So don't say that. The second thing is, how do you hire? So I think one, we have to understand the demography of the country, and I come from the eastern part. I am in Bangalore from the last 26 years. I've been a KV student, so I know the demography of the country. Like probably you call me at any point of you pick up a location, I'll say maybe in that state. So I understand it very well. What has happened is in the last 7 years.
You have incorporated the Google Maps in your brain.
Absolutely, of India. I have traveled to many other locations across the globe, but I think fascinated about the demographic things. What has happened is
digital competency.
Yeah. So what has happened? For the effort, I can give a big hand. So what happens is that there are many places where you have the talent, but you don't have the job. So what we do is that we call it mobilization. So there's a lot of places where we mobilize people throughout the country. And the next thing what we do is that we develop the competency in them. So I think ye chal nahi raha hai is probably we don't bring it in the mind. We only think that how to make it happen. And I think that's the kind of effort that has been made. And the beauty of that is that when you feel, can I make it happen with that particular person, and it works, you see that the cost of rehiring is not there. You hit to the productivity, and the most important thing it is that if you are hitting gold, you need to let the other people know. Most of the problems which we have seen with many other companies is 5% of over exceeding results needs to be put to other people, that this is what the good part is happening. Working in silos and just appreciating those 5 people out of 100 or probably 20 people out of 100 doesn't work. It has to be in public. Next, you need to have another category, which is people who are gradually improving. You need to even appreciate them, because that's the next thing that comes in. Because an interesting fact finding was done, that what post-pandemic probably, what is the thing that people are running for? Options were money, peace, attention. You know what? The first thing was attention. Third was money. So people want attention, then they want peace, then they want money. So I think maybe pre-pandemic it was money, but now things have changed.
They still complain on the salary day.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very interesting thing. Like again, if you are able to bring it to the people, right? If you are able to build that to the people, that salaries is depending on what work that you do and the competency that you bring onto the table. Absolutely. I think it works. Like I hear it. I mean, two things. I'll just finish off this. When at a younger age, I used to hear a lot of multinational companies while in the calls and the meetings saying cheap labor. I used to say, never say that. It's cost effective. India is cost effective labor. Never call us cheap. The second thing is, whenever I hear that HR does Rangoli, I tell them that it's a nice face. उन्हें कहते हैं HR, नहीं, HR उन्हें कहते हैं जो ईद में भी करे दिवाली. Which means it's nothing but inclusive. So the next time anybody tells you that you guys are only doing Rangoli, say no, we bring inclusivity. We ensure that people are inclusive, people are happy, because happy employees are the source of productivity as well. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I want to throw one common question, maybe one or two of you, quickly if you can answer. We also have got a time constraint. Let's try to close by 21:05, maximum another 9 minutes or so. A common question: smiles, etiquettes, personal rappos, are they things of past when it comes to HR function and HR analytics, what you call payroll management, softwares that operate human record? Are they the only ones that are getting importance of leadership? Any two of you can. But yeah.
If you say that no, they don't hold good, I disagree with that. Well, I disagree with that. Am I audible? Yes.
Yeah.
I disagree with that is because there will I think only if that happens, that probably there is an earthquake or a tsunami and mankind is getting over such things. Till the date, mankind is there. I think that soft touch, you know, the employee sitting next to you has been working hard because you have a deadline to meet. You have gone to the cafeteria, you're getting a coffee for you and you're getting a coffee for the other person, is what is going to keep employees go further, not machine language, not AI, nothing.
Excellent, very nice.
That's how it is.
Anyone else? Anand sir, Simi ma'am, anybody?
Let me try that out. So, you know, I compare technology always with money. So if you look at it, money, the way you use it is whether it is good or bad, right? So same thing goes for technology, how you are going to use it. Now, I think everyone specified, or like Shivam said, empathy. When you are in stress, you always want to talk to a person, even though the words would be same. Yeah. Even if I will make a technology or if there is a AI whom I can talk to, words would be same coming out of that AI versus the person talking to the other employee, but still I want to talk to a person at that time.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Facebook helped us to maintain our relationships.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe I can wish anyone, if I'm not able to at least talk, I can wish there. But that couldn't replace if I call someone and say, hey guy, happy birthday, even if it is 11:59 and another 1 minute the day would have changed.
Absolutely.
Right? Still, that 11:59 happy birthday or wish you a good luck would make much more difference, whether it is personal or official or otherwise.
Absolutely.
So I would say, you know, technology will grow and should grow and we should learn, but at the same time, empathy, relationship hold the same value and will remain the same value wherever, whenever we are.
Simi ma'am,
I'll add on the empathy piece. How many of you know the golden rule of empathy? Golden rule of empathy? Treat people
The way you like to be treated.
the way you like to be treated. Yes? Have you heard of the platinum rule of empathy?
BG sir will tell.
Which is?
As they would like you to do, rather than
Almost there. So treat others the way they would like to be
They would like
treated.
to be treated, yeah.
And again, when it comes to etiquettes and smiles and all of that, if it were, something of the previous era, then a lot of these, training companies would not have survived. In fact, I follow 3 Instagram influencers who teach on a daily basis how to hold a cup, how to smile, how to sit, because that's something there's so much of country and cultural context. But again, coming back, empathy, as an HR person, must. And treat people the way they want to be treated. Most times they just want to come and vent.
Yeah. I want to give the other 2 panelists who didn't answer this part, another what you call challenging question that the HR fraternity here must be having. ChatGPT is looming large, and I think most of the HR people also must be thinking, will it eat our jobs? Because job description ChatGPT will do. Many other functions it can do. So how do HR professionals navigate this era of competition with ChatGPT? I mean, go ahead.
I'll pick the cue from the previous question, right? The way I look at it is, I use ChatGPT, definitely.
And you're safe?
Yeah, I'm safe. So the cue from the previous question, right? I look at technology as an enabler.
Yeah.
Right? What's wrong if I'm doing a presentation and if there is an enabler for me, there's a tool for me which can just make it look better? What's the harm? Do it. Go ahead and use it, right? It's not replacing me. It will not replace me, because the value which I bring to the table can never be brought by ChatGPT. And some of the key things which we as human beings would bring, the first one is empathy.
Yeah.
Right? ChatGPT cannot bring that. And there are a lot of issues which the entire organization or the entire industry is dealing with ChatGPT, right? Issues, ethical issues. That cannot be resolved by ChatGPT, and that is the reason why there are limitations of how you can use ChatGPT, why it is not so much available for us to use that, right? If it was all foolproof, we should have been allowed. It is not allowed because the value, the ethics, the empathy, the human touch, everything what we bring to the table, ChatGPT cannot do it. So ChatGPT will not replace any of our jobs. What it will replace is probably the redundancy, the repetitive job which we do. It can probably do your reporting a slightly much better. It could write your email a little more better, which you can go ahead and use it, right? What it cannot bring is creativity. What it will give you is more time to be more creative.
More efficient.
More efficient. Think out of the box. Do something which you never had time for. So think about it and do some things for your employees, and don't worry about, whether the ChatGPT will replace you. Trust me, it will not replace.
Shivam sir.
I'll just take an example what you guys saw from the keynote speakers. Presentations can be done exceptionally well, which means making the presentations. But the way I think both them delivered, ChatGPT cannot replace that.
Absolutely.
So I think we have the answer in front of us.
That answers.
No, wait till Jarvis comes. You've seen Avengers? Okay, I would like to look at it in a slightly different perspective. I'm not a technology guy. I had a very short stint with one of the new age technology company. Honestly, I couldn't survive. I said, thank you very much, I'm going to brick and mortar company. I left. It was way back in 2000 and 2001. Just 18 months I worked there. So I don't understand a lot of technology jargons. But one thing I can very clearly assure you with common sense. Since the advent of our information technology revolution, starting from 1990s, so many jargons, so many technologies, so many languages, so many things have gone in the last 32 years. But the professionals and the profession and the employment continue to exist and grow. There is no doubt. So I am very confident in the next 30 years also, whether chat GPT comes or any other GPT comes, any other chat comes, the jobs will continue to be there for human beings, quote unquote human beings. But the only difference, what I see is the human being ready for the job for the human being? You have a job for the human being and there is a human being. Is this human being ready for this job for that human being? That is the question. So the consolidating whatever
that preparation is the requirement.
If you are prepared, depending upon what is required today and what is required in the near future, you can't predict because no technology is lasting more than 2-3 years nowadays. You can't predict for too far away, but at least for the foreseeable future, if you have prepared yourself, the respect, the requirement for the human being will not vanish from this earth. Thank you very much.
Ma'am, Simi ma'am, I'm urged and tempted to ask this question because I've seen your profile as a champion in diversity and inclusion. When we talk about digital competencies and skill enhancement in digital, there's so much of difficulties that when you talk about diversity, bringing people from interior heartlands of India where they are not exposed to internet, there you have connectivity issues. So the learning levels, obviously, what a Bangalore boy and or a Delhi girl gets and a person from interior heartland has. Do you give some allowance for such people when they get into organizations to catch up with the rest?
Yeah, two things. One is that from an India standpoint, I think the internet absorption is 40% higher in rural India.
Is that? Oh,
as compared to urban India. 40% higher.
Oh, that's something.
Yes, yes. And so that's number one, which is good news.
Yeah.
And number two is, yes, when we call it a, equitable organization, right? It's important that organizations provide the level playing ground for hiring workforce. In my past, what we've done is we've done the train, hire, and deploy model. So you definitely reach out to the tier 2, tier 3 places, figure out the skills that people have. Work with grassroots level organization, like for example, we worked with Smile Foundation, for example, right? Because sometimes it's very difficult to train people unless you're partnering with somebody who actually knows them in and out. So partnering with outreach organizations and then hiring them, deploying them, and yes, again, I've made it sound simple, but it's actually a little difficult. But yeah, we've done this with some success, yeah.
Okay, I think with the paucity of time, I want to conclude by asking one, maybe 10-second response from each one of you on what are the 2-3 digital competencies, whether it's software or whether it is Python or HR analytics, what are must for HR professionals, most of them young, they need to have going back from this conclave? Must software learnings or platform?
Okay, so I would say look at it from HR analytics point of view, whether it is Power BI or a Tableau or something, where you can actually look into it, and base of all is common sense and logics.
Common sense and Power BI, okay.
I was about to say that, but yes, sense-making abilities, creativity, and thinking out of the box.
Something digital, ma'am?
Yes, I mean, go get more digital savvy, right? So understand a little bit of how a programming language works. You don't need to become an expert. You're an HR person. If you're not with an engineering degree in IT or computer science, it will be a struggle, but understand and,
Get the understanding.
Get the understanding, yes.
Shivam sir?
I will concur with Ms. Simi. It doesn't matter how the program is written or how the program comes to you. Do you have the basic skills to use that particular program or an app or BI report sent to you from your whichever the department it is? If you can decipher it, understand it, and use with your common sense and intelligence, that is good enough. How the program is written, for a HR guy, it doesn't matter. You know how to use it, that's good enough.
So operational knowledge, yeah, okay.
I think I'll split it into two. For the HR professionals,
Just from my own personal experience, I said I'm not a technology guy, but I have the credit of implementing Oracle HRMS in 1998, SAP in 2006, again SAP in Aramco in 2009, and again SAP Mobility in 2016. I don't understand any one of this technology. But if you talk to any project manager who has worked with me for implementing these 4 programs, they will say, I will never like to meet this guy once again in my life. Ramco has to revamp their entire program by 60% because I knew exactly what my organization wants and what my employees have to understand from the program. And they have to, the current Ramco HRM system, I would like to claim credit. Myself along with my team, we have contributed so much to as what they are presenting it to all of you probably today. That contribution comes from us because of our own deep understanding of what we want, rather than what they are going to do it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I think for HR professionals, I would say the thinking is solution designing, and the application part is digital transformation. That's very important. For the students, I would say 2 things. Build good narrative skills and presentation skills, because these 2 are very important for you to say. Most of the struggle today with the kids are what's here doesn't come out. And I'm sorry, but you get probably 3 to 4 questions in which you get judged in a campus interview. So you need to build narrative skills and presentation skills.
Absolutely.
Thank
presentation skills, yeah.
I'll keep it very simple because of the time. Common sense definitely takes the score. The 3 other things which I would probably call out, one is data analytics, very, very key for HR. And if I relate back to the lady who asked that question, it becomes important for us to demonstrate the value we bring to the table, and if you'll not be able to do unless and until you really know what your data is talking about. That's point number 1. Once you have the data in place, how do you storytell? Data storytelling, very, very key for all of us. And the third thing is, once you have all these things, how do you communicate, right? Use all the possible media, social channels, whatever it is, have a proper digital communication strategy in place. I'll leave with that. One thing to top up all these things is cybersecurity, very, very important, because we are all in the digital transformation game. So be 200% sure whatever you're doing, whether it is ChatGPT, whether it is social media, ensure that your data is absolutely safe and secure. So I think those are the couple of things which I want to add. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and I request everybody to give a appreciation applause to the fabulous 5. I think they have said it all. I think the digital competency era of 2.0 that we are talking about generally talks about information and data literacy. I think Aurora spoke about it very well. And communication and collaboration, all the learned ladies and Shivam sir talked about communication as one of the key requirement of digital competency era. And then safety and security, I think the last, she talked about the cyber security as one of the literacy that HR professionals need to know as you go ahead in this digital era and building digital competencies to the manpower of your organization. With that, the dinner is waiting. Let's close. Thank you so much. Give a big round of applause to the top 5. It's a real dinner, not a digital dinner. Yeah, let's come. Oh, my pleasure. It's a pleasure to have such what you call acknowledged speakers and knowledgeable people here. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you all. It was indeed a great discussion, and thank you all the panelists. I would request now Kavita ma'am, Ritesh sir and Mohan sir to felicitate the panelists one by one. Lekha ma'am, can I have a round of applause as each one receives the gift? Dear team, Lekha Palakot, Director L&D from Brilliant Technology. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Sudeep Kumar Sen, GI Group India, VP HR. Can I have a round of applause? Next, Shivam S, Founder, Ocean Resources and Services. Thank you, sir. Next, Simi Chowdhury, AVP Global Talent Management, Sutherland Global Services. Can I have a round of applause, please? Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Lastly, Mr. Anand Arora, Vice President HR, Landmark Group. Can I have a big round of applause for him? Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Now our very own Professor Mr. Hari Prakash for moderating. Thank you, sir. Can I have a big round of applause for the excellent moderator? Thank you, sir. As we draw close, yes, sir. I have two quick announcements. For the audience, we have arranged dinner, a sumptuous dinner in the next floor, 4th floor. We also request, to collect your gifts as you leave at the reception. Now, as they're coming together for group photograph, I have vote of thanks. I have a big list. As we draw close with HR Conclave event on digital competencies for employees to a close, it is my privilege and honor to propose a heartfelt vote of thanks on behalf of GIBS. Thank you, sir. Okay. First and foremost, I extend our deepest gratitude to our distinguished panelists and keynote speakers whose insightful contributions have enriched our understanding of digital competencies in the workplace. Your expertise and willingness to share your knowledge and experience have been invaluable to us. Thank you for your time, your wisdom, and your dedication to shaping the future of HR. To professionals in our audience, thank you for gracing us with your presence. Your active participation in discussions and your commitment to staying abreast of the latest HR trends are commendable. Your role in molding the HR landscape is pivotal, and we are grateful for your continued support. I would like to express our sincere appreciation to our MD Ritesh Goyal, who has always been the guiding light of our institution. Your vision, leadership, and unwavering support have made events like this possible, fostering an environment of academic excellence and industry relevance. I say thanks to our Dean Academics, Dr. Kavita Mathad, for her contribution and her encouragement. My heartfelt gratitude towards Mr. Ravi, Director of Administration, Mr. Pradeep, Head of Marketing, Mr. Sandeep, Head of Admissions, Mr. Santosh, and the entire support staff. Thank you, without whom the event wouldn't have been possible. I thank Dean Placements, Mr. Mohan Raj, for being an influencer, motivator, and a great leader for the entire team. Under him, the placement team has been working tirelessly behind the scenes to ensure that our students are well equipped for the demands of the corporate world. Your dedication to the nurturing talent and forging meaningful partnership with industry is commendable. Thank you for your commitment to our students' success. Last but not the least, I want to acknowledge all the efforts of my teammates and our student coordinators. Your enthusiasm, hard work, and commitment to the success of this conclave have been truly inspiring. You are the future leaders of our institution, and we are proud to see you take on such responsibilities. In closing, I would like to emphasize that this HR Conclave has been a remarkable journey of knowledge sharing and collaboration. This insights gained today will undoubtedly shape the way we approach digital competencies. Let's carry these learning forward, inspiring innovation and transformation in our respective roles of organization. I thank you everyone for contributing to the success of the event. Thank you all.
I think Kiran did a fantabulous job. Before his efforts go without a recognition, let's give him a big hand as well. Thank you.
Thank you once again. As I announced earlier, there is dinner arranged for all of us in the 4th floor, and please don't forget to collect your gifts in the next floor. And please don't forget to collect your gifts at the reception as you leave. Thank you all. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. National anthem, huh? One second. Let me check.